The following is the opening discussion I had to a video I filmed last week, specifically on Thursday, the 13th of February 2025. It was my response in regards to the allegations and controversy regarding the YouTuber known as Daniel Greene. Unfortunately, I lost half of that recording, and because it was so long, instead of re recording it, I determined to talk about it on my following live stream, the Culture Crusade, the very live stream that you're watching right now. Since having recorded this original video, further information has come to light which has exonerated much of what Daniel's accusations were, specifically a retraction from the accuser Naomi King. I'm going to share with you the introduction to that unpublished video to prove that my skepticism regarding Naomi King's accusations is nothing new or in response to her retracting her very serious accusations against Daniel Greene. And it was these doubts and skepticisms that we were initially going to talk about on the live stream, but now we are going to be discussing all the updates and the fallout, as well as what was initially causing me to be so skeptical of those accusations. But first, I'm going to share with you the introduction of that video. Very serious accusations have just recently come to light regarding a prominent YouTuber known as Daniel Greene. And I myself actually have a little bit of a history and association with Daniel Greene, hence why my interest in the accusations, but also a bit of a response to the fallout that is already happening. Now, first and foremost, when serious accusations like this come to rise, should it not be that we should all follow the principles of innocent until proven guilty, especially with how serious these accusations are? They are in the veins of serious sexual assault. Some might even interpret them as rape. Now, is it beyond the realms of possibility that Daniel could be guilty? Of course not. Is it beyond the realms of possibility they might be innocent? Also, of course not. Yet, already, as we see time and time again when stuff like this comes out, is that the court of public opinion seems to be completely settled on the matter, and everyone is accusing Daniel of the most heinous of things before he has actually shared his side of the story. He's made a brief statement on his YouTube channel saying that the accusations are 100% false and that he has evidence to prove his innocence and that will exonerate him. And I think with that statement, that should at least offer him time for people to withhold judgment until they hear his side of the story. Yet, as I've mentioned, that is certainly not seeming to be the case. People are already canceling him, disassociating himself. He's been canceled off a podcast that he did. People who were friendly associations with him in the past are pulling the plug, condemning him in videos. Past collaborators are taking down videos that have him appear in it because they very much seem to be of the side of believe all women. And Daniel himself is very much being associated and proclaimed and advocated for that side as well. Daniel is very much a woke, ideological, left-leaning, very far progressive individual. So much so that I would almost guarantee if similar accusations came to light where someone made a video trying to give this really detailed story of my own past indiscretions, that I genuinely feel Daniel would be one of the very first people who would be just as quick to disassociate from me. By the way, he's already done that. I'll fill you in a bit on that already, right? Or condemn me and jump on board the believe all women kind of side. But the reality is, of course, is that there's been many times when women have made as severe or even worse accusations, and it has come out later that they have been completely false and fabricated, and people's lives have been utterly ruined based on these false accusations. Hence why it is so important to withhold judgment until further evidence comes to light. He sees his day in court, we hear his side of the story, and especially that if you just paid attention to the accounts of the indiscretions at play here, there are some massive, and I mean massive, holes in the accounts. And it really smells of something that I will share. I'll share my final conclusions and my assessment of what's come out thus far after I share the evidence with you. But there is absolutely cause to be concerned, cautious, and hold off judgment based on the information that has come out at the moment. Much, and I mean, when I say much, most of it is based on subjective interpretation of events and hearsay with very little evidence, nearly none. And the only kind of evidence that is put forward is proof that they were there at a certain time at a certain location. There seems to be some measure of regret about as to what happened during that time, but that was only shared in a very redacted comment where the context is completely devoid and missing, so you can't even rely on that. That's what I mean about the holes in the account that has been given so far. And so I'm not bringing this up or even making this video, just encouraging people to have an open mind and hear Daniel's side of the story for Daniel at all. Okay. In actual fact, I think he hates my guts. Though granted, we had an amicable enough last conversation, which kind of perhaps resolved some things, but since then he's still, doesn't want to associate with me at all. And it did seem like it was a bit more damage control on his part. So in the past, Daniel and I have been pleasantly associated. Not anymore, but he, was viewing fantasy content. Shadiversity revolves around fantasy content, and connections were made about the content they were making, especially with the development of my book. And he's a booktuber, and so I was interested in a YouTuber writing a book. And that kicked off a friendly association where we had messaged each other. We had not really done full-blown collaborations, but we certainly shouted each other out in videos. I offered advice and help on YouTube ends when things were going on that he was concerned about in regards to YouTube. I even proofread some of the first pages of his unpublished novel, giving free advice and feedback because I'm also a writer and was published at the time. And so I literally have done nothing with Daniel in the times that we associate apart from offering a hand of friendship. Yet, of course, because he is so far left-leaning and I'm a very outspoken conservative and Christian, it's not the fact that I was conservative Christian, it's that I'm outspoken and therefore I receive and am the target of hate and criticism as a result. That caused Daniel to cease associating with me, cease having messages back and forth. He even took down his review of my novel, Shadow of the Conqueror. And I mentioned that in a view years later, which was not really a call out, but just acknowledging that this has happened. And it seems to be, I speculated as the reasons. And he actually messaged me, being a bit worried of the blowback, actually. And then we got into a frank discussion about the things, even got onto a chat. And after the end of the discussion, he agreed to actually put my review back up. And that was kind of more on positive terms. And that was the last time we talked about each other, though he's referred to me not by name, but that he really disagrees with my opinions, or the author of Shadow of the Conqueror, when that's come up in one of the. And so that's the last of it. But it's very clear that because he has such differences with me politically, he has not wanted anything to do with me since. And the comments he has made about conservatives and Christians, publicly, one of the ones he did on Twitter, has shared how aggressively negative the feelings he has towards Christian conservatives. And so even with him being the type of person who would definitely believe all women, especially if false accusations were lobbed against me, that does not mean that we should not be concerned if these are actually false allegations against Daniel and that he doesn't deserve to actually be I'm not even really going to be defending him. I'm just pointing out some of the holes in these accusations and the fact that he hasn't even shared his side of the story yet. But even if what I'm doing in this video does end up evolving into a defense against these accusations against Daniel, that would be because there is an important principle that we should stand up for. Even if Daniel is opposed to me, very opposed to me ideologically, and would perhaps not nearly even come close to offering me the same charity and lack of judgment, doesn't mean that we shouldn't treat those people still with fairness and consideration, because the principles that we should live up to and stand by are more important than, because it is interesting that, there are very outspoken people. And look, and, Daniel has at times made kind of moral grandstands in his videos, lecturing and criticizing people from a kind of position of moral superiority that people on his side tend to do quite regularly. He is absolutely guilty of that and has done it. And so I certainly understand that people might respond to this with Daniel being more on the side of the Believe All Women movement, when now accusations have risen up that people then hold him to his own standard. Cancel culture is when it is unjust. When someone gets canceled for actually having committed serious crimes like Harvey Weinstein, we don't call that cancel culture. We call it justice. We do not know if Daniel deserves justice or penalties for what is done because we don't know if this is true or not, which is the crux of the matter, isn't it? And so because of that, I'm not going to be holding Daniel to his own standard or treat him the way that it's probably likely that he would have treated me. I'm going to be holding him to my own standard, the standards that, yes, we should all hold, which is innocent until proven guilty, and hearing both sides of the account. And in part of that account, Daniel has already admitted to indiscretion. It was his girlfriend at the time, now fiance, cheating, essentially. Adultery is, when it's your wife, but it's effectively adultery in the modern kind of sense and terminology. And of course, there is absolutely no excuse for that. Interesting, though, Daniel has admitted to it. His now fiance is aware of it, and they seem to be trying to work through it, and has even said that he's been going to therapy to try and overcome some of these issues that he's dealing with. And if he is actually trying to legitimately change and repent, I'm not going to judge him for past mistakes, because I try and live by the teachings of Jesus Christ. He who is without sin, let him first cast a stone. And a lot of dogpiling has already happened. People condemning him for being a admitted cheater without, acknowledging the fact that his fiance is aware of it and they tried to work through it and is trying to improve himself. And this is a past indiscretion that, according to all we know, he is not partaking in at the moment. People can change and become better. And if that's the case, let's judge him for who he is right now. And that does include if he is guilty of the sexual assault allegations. But if he is not, okay, then he does not deserve to be getting his life destroyed. And make no mistake, the accusations that are being levied against him are life-destroying potential allegations, okay? People's lives have been utterly destroyed for things less severe as the accusations now being levied against him. Because if these accusations are false, I already mentioned that they have the potential to ruin an innocent man's life. I'm also aware of the fact that Daniel actually does struggle with some strong mental health issues, depression, anxiety, and other things like that. And if these accusations are false, it genuinely has the potential to push someone like Daniel over the edge. I'm actually concerned that if these are false accusations, this could push him to potential suicide. That's how severe and life-ruining these things are. If he is guilty of these things, of course, he deserves to be punished, but I'm not going to be making judgments until proof is given, and the supposed evidence in the account put forward already, as I mentioned, has some massive holes and contradictions. And in all honesty, when you pay attention to what's actually being done, okay, the person who has made these accusations has also done really terrible things. And instead of actually trying to acknowledge any fault at all, it seems to be all an attempt to try and make herself out as this innocent victim throughout the whole thing, and there's only one guilty party in it all. And I'm going to point out the examples of how this has been done in the accounts given so far, and that really makes me question the honesty of the accusations being put forward. Okay, here we are live. Welcome to the Culture Crusade. Different kind of intro than we're used to, but as I mentioned at the beginning of that video, I recorded that last week, and it was on Thursday, I believe it was, right after a lot of those accusations dropped. I lost half the recording, full half, and I was like, and it was a long video, actually, no, more than half. It was like 2/3. And I was like, holy crap. Look, I can't recapture all the things that I, was speaking off the fly and other things like that. So I thought, let's talk about it on the Culture Crusade, which is this live stream right here. And literally just like, I woke up this morning and Naomi King has made a retraction. And Daniel has also put out a video bringing receipts. And like in my initial recording, I was like, this is going to be really interesting. Daniel says he has proof of his innocence. And so if he drops that, holy crap, everyone dogpiling and just full-blown canceling the guy, right? They are really going to have to, eat crow, make some retractions, which is the kind of thing that we're seeing right now. It has been a wild week, but before we continue, Mike, how are you, mate?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing well.
I just realized who you were talking about when I was watching that, because we were talking about this before the show started. But I was like, I remember that name, but I didn't know who it was. And then when you said he was the book reviewer guy, I was like, oh yeah, this guy.
Yep. And it's been a bit crazy with everything that's been going on. And so to catch people up, we are likely going to have an additional guest come joining us on the live stream to talk about this. And so I'll give you a background, catch you up, and then we're probably going to dive into some of the initial holes that in Naomi King's, accusation video. And also this is all wrapped up in the general conversation about the problems that are associated with the believe all women type of thing. Okay. And this is not to downplay the seriousness of sexual assault or that it doesn't happen. Of course it does. But the fact that a woman or anyone really can just come out and make things up, right, without any proof, and someone's life gets utterly destroyed. And it's happened before, by the way. People's lives have been friggin' decimated based on the false accusations, and later on they admitted that they made it all up. You should look up a person called Mattress Girl. Have you heard of Mattress Girl?
That rings a bell.
That rings a bell, right? And I have definitely seen honestly, one person's life destroyed from a false accusation should be enough to learn from this, but I've seen way more than that. Enough for me to practice, okay, caution. If the accusations come out, there needs to be friggin' proof before anyone jumps the gun. And but the world isn't that. And the recent Daniel Greene thing has proven not even close. So having said that, most of his audience is more left leaning on the kind of believe all women side. And so that's the audience he has, courted more of. So because the only other person that I saw online that was actually voicing some skepticism on the whole Daniel Greene accusations was John De La Rose. He was the only other one that I saw.
Really?
Yep.
Let me see if I can get John on here.
Not at the moment, but we'll see if our guest still comes on, because everyone was throwing him under the bus, and I found it interesting because this woman left in nearly I can't remember the exact amount. Like it was a couple minutes at least, maybe up to 5 minutes of her having a full-blown panic attack. And she left it in to claim that this is the honest results of PTSD from sexual assault, right? And it was all manipulation. Now, I will talk a bit, maybe like later if we get to it, how she could push herself to that state, because it fooled basically everyone. Like that, it was a performance. And she's made another video, right? She's made a video retraction, and then she's also made another video. I haven't even watched this one yet. The most recent one is her claiming that someone else has accused Daniel. And that's just from me reading the title, and that's after she's retracted it. And it's like, no, sorry, lady, you have lost all credibility completely. This is an issue, like, everyone wanted to be fooled. Like everyone was just so ready to cancel the guy. It was like massive virtue signaling. I believe all women. Daniel's a terrible person, and the accusations were pretty terrible. Flimsy. Well, they were flimsy, but what she was saying was damning. If they were true, it was really bad, right? She claimed Daniel pressured and forced these interesting things into sexual activity while she was half drugged and half asleep. She literally said that she was drugged and half asleep. And already I was like, hang on, because she says she was drugged and half asleep. And then she goes on to describe an encounter that she remembers with such clarity, and the fact that she is interacting with Daniel, telling him what to do, what not to do, everything like that, as if she's fully sober. And I'm like, she is not describing herself as someone who is drugged and half asleep, right? But she literally said that, and I'm already like, am I the only one seeing this? And that's not the only time when her account really didn't friggin' match up. There were like these massive holes in it, and I don't know. Maybe it might have been a little bit of providence or something like that, because I reckon that if my recording wasn't lost and I would have edited and put out that video that night, right? I reckon there would have been so many, and there are already a group of people that literally like are ready to dogpile and attack me for anything, and I almost guarantee that they'll be fully there saying Shad defends sexual assaulter and all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And but now, of course, she's retracted the statements, and I have that recording literally that I did last week to show that no, I'm not changing my tune because of the retraction, and that she's admitted that she made up so much of it, right? No, these were my skepticisms from the very beginning. Okay, so rolling it all back. Okay, who is Daniel Greene? All right, I mentioned that he is a YouTuber. He is a booktuber, more specifically. So he's covered Wheel of Time novels quite a lot in depth. Okay, and him and I think some of the falling out started to happen when the Wheel of Time TV show came out, because his initial reviews were pretty soft in criticism, but his overall season review was a bit heavy in the criticism. But the episode reviews were pretty soft, and my episode reviews of the same show was really severe. I was actually the first 3 episodes I was like, they got worse, but I was giving the first episode quite a bit of charity. But by episode 4, I was like, this show is a dumpster fire.
How that wasn't too long after you started being a regular on Friday Night Tights, right?
The Wheel of Time reviews? I can't remember. No, I became a regular on FNT during Rings of Power season 1.
Oh, okay. I'm confusing this.
So this must have been before, I think, because Rings of Power season 1 came out after Wheel of Time season 1, I'm pretty sure. Terrible show. Okay. But in my reviews, I mentioned without name some people who have been too soft on the episodes, and Daniel thought that I was talking about him. I was mainly referring to another YouTuber, but I can totally see that, he felt that I was kind of throwing him under the bus, and that began a bit of a rift between us, because I've already jumped too far ahead, because going back to the fact that he's a fantasy YouTuber that's done Wheel of Time and other things, right, covering Brandon Sanderson, he also reviewed my own novel. And even before he reviewed my novel, he, in his fantasy news stuff, he covered the fact that my novel was coming out and other things.
I think he reviewed The Hedge Knight too.
Did he? He very well might have.
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And so I appreciated Daniel's review. And look, he gave it a good positive review, but he points out some criticisms, and I found it was actually a very even-handed, fair review, where he was a bit undecided towards the end of it. But anyway, that just, we had an amicable relationship since then. We shouted each other out here and there, and we also just messaged behind the scenes a bit. And then, of course, when I became more outspoken about my, ideological beliefs and things, and he is very, very left-leaning, that, created he started to disassociate, and as I mentioned, he literally took down his review of my novel completely. And I thought that stung, because he also took it down during the time when a lot of the bullcrap reviews were coming out, and they still do come out, which are just people who hate me ideologically, and they just love to create a video dumping on my novel. And I've looked at some of those reviews, right, and they are just complete full of crap, lying through their teeth about the book. And the fact that Daniel took down his review, which was an honest, even, fair review, right, that stung a bit. And I actually mentioned him, because what happened is I did a video talking about what people really think about my book, kind of, addressing all the bullcrap reviews, sharing some of the, positive ones. And I mentioned that Daniel had that review and that he had taken it down. Daniel thought that was he was afraid of the blowback. And so he messaged me, and then that actually led us to speaking frankly about it. And even in that discussion, even though we don't see eye to eye politically, even that discussion, I was saying, dude, there's so much we agree on. We still clearly get along. The fact that, you're wanting to disassociate just doesn't make sense. And in that discussion, I talk about the importance of people with different ideological positions still having a conversation and associating, and not like making this rift between us. And that did lead him to putting his review of Shadow of the Conqueror back up. And so that ended on a half decent, amicable enough ending. Still hasn't really messaged me ever since, doesn't really want to associate and stuff, but the review's back up. Okay. And that's where that kind of ended. And since that time, I think he's just ended up going even a bit further left. He's made a number of statements in his videos. He's certainly condemned J.K. Rowling for being anti-trans and stuff like that. And one of the most wild things I ever saw from him was a tweet that is deleted. And I don't think I saved it. I couldn't find it. But it was one of the most full-blown, unhinged statements and attacks against Christian conservatives. It was really bad. And so he took that tweet down. So maybe he was just overly emotional in that time. Okay. So I get the impression that he doesn't have a, nice opinion of me. But again, that doesn't change the fact that if accusations come out, right, you need to hear them out and apply the same amount of fairness that you would give to anyone. And so that's kind of the background. And as I mentioned, BookTuber covered Wheel of Time, Rings of Power, lots of Brandon Sanderson, and so he's had interviews with Brandon. He covers a lot of the books, and it's interesting because I have a good association with Brandon as well. And Brandon is one of the good ones, and he is far more left-leaning than me. I've made videos on it, right? But he's never cancelled me, and is still happy to have an email. And we've had some pretty, in-depth, honest discussions about different things here and there. And that's been really positive with the discussion with Brandon and stuff. Though interestingly, with the fallout, I have to say, Brandon did unfollow Daniel Greene when the accusations came out on Instagram, I think it was. And again, I can see why Brandon did. A lot of people it looked really bad. Okay. But once again, you need evidence for these types of things. You need very solid evidence before you jump the gun. All right. So I'm just going to quickly check our. Okay. Our guest is still saying he's on the way, so I don't want to dive into a lot of the kind of breaking down stuff until he arrives. So we'll catch some of the super chats and try and give him a bit more time. He says he's running a little late. So Go for Broke 499 says, "Hi Shad, off topic. But I was wondering if you checked out the first episode of Angel Studios' animated show Gabriel and the Guardians. I have not. I haven't even heard of it. But that's on my radar now. Go for Broke.
It's the book that Rippaverse is turning into a manga.
Oh, cool. All right. Awesome.
It's the anime that they're turning into a manga.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I'll keep that on my radar. Nathan Cassidy 49 says, "If I may paraphrase the line from Batman Begins, I don't want to cancel you, but I don't need to save you from the cancel pigs." I mean, it's like it. I think there is a more important principle at play, right? Even if someone has been on board with their whole cancellation movement, there is a bit more of a complex thing about holding people to their own standards. Because I think, for whatever judgment ye meet shall be meted unto them, right? And so if someone actually does legitimately something, right, that they tried to cancel other people for, and it's proven, I have very little sympathy if they get canceled for the same thing. Okay. There's that. But if this is actually false accusations, I think there's a more important principle at play here to, no, if he's innocent of these accusations, they're innocent. So, I get what you're saying.
The cancelers.
Right. but hey, our guest has arrived. Let's bring him in.
Hello.
How are you, mate?
Yeah, sorry I'm a bit late. I had to celebrate Doctor Who getting axed.
Oh,
yes.
Axed?
Yes. The sun came out and said, which was the first article? Exterminate Doctor Who facing axe as lead star Cutie Gatwa quits, in inverted commas, amid woeful ratings and fans' fury at woke storylines. And then the BBC issued a statement and said, the BBC has furiously denied that Doctor Who is on the cusp of being cancelled, but refused to rule out that Cutie Gatwa has walked away. So he's gone. I'm happy either way. That's fine. Yeah. Whether you want to renew it and waste more money, fine. But at least one main problem is I'll take that.
Yes. Oh, mate, well,
can we have David Tennant just wake up from a horrible dream like that episode of Dallas?
Well, he's just presented the BAFTAs like today or yesterday or something. I keep seeing videos of him. And he came out and started ranting about Trump and calling him a villain and anti-Elon Musk and everything. So there is no waking him up unless he gets a divorce.
Wake up.
I'm not sure Matt Smith...
Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know the Dallas thing I'm talking about?
Where they woke up in a shower and ruined the entire series. Yeah, I've not seen the series.
The entire previous season had been a dream.
Yeah, I've just heard everyone rant about it, about how awful it was.
All right, so thanks for joining us, Disbrew.
Sorry for the interruption. I was happy.
Oh, no.
I'm rarely a happy person.
Yes. But what's your kind of background or your knowledge of the situation thus far?
I've seen his video, her apology, and her second video. What I managed to track down.
Okay. So we're going to go a bit to the beginning of the accusations and pointing out some of the inconsistencies that were initially there. And then we might even play some of the clips. I downloaded the videos because I was ready to make a video on this. And I lost half of the recording, right? Because I already recorded it and I played the intro at the beginning of the live stream. And so I still have my notes, still have the stuff. And yeah, I think it's worth pointing out a lot of the stuff that people were just completely ignoring. Were you aware of some of the controversy like last week? I had
absolutely no idea. I only really found out about it. I think I just heard that something was going on, didn't know anything. And then it was her apology video was the first one I saw. So I went into it knowing it was all nonsense. So it definitely put a different spin on everything, watching his. So I kind of watched it backwards. Her apology, then his rebuttal. And then by the time you get to her second video, it's like, oh, this is just designed to humiliate him. That's all it was. And even watching it from the start, I think I would have been like, you're laying this on a bit thick, love.
Right. Like, I literally called out in my initial video and I said, what this really looks like. Naomi King is feeling like she felt horribly guilty for cheating on someone, and she says it because she knows how awful that is, because someone cheated on her with her partner, husband, whatever, in the past, and the fact that now she was a cheater, she felt like a disgusting, despicable person, and her whole video felt like an attempt to deflect criticism and paint her as a victim instead of a cheater. And that she was, the one who came out to,
I think it's more than that, because this wasn't just playing a victim. Have you seen the second video?
Which
the one that got taken down by YouTube.
No, I haven't seen that one.
That has nudity and sexual content, which is why YouTube took that one down. There's a bit where she takes everything off and she just gets into bed and starts acting it out.
What, naked? She's naked on camera?
Well, she's under the sheets, but it got removed for it because she's acting out what happened.
Holy crap.
She's doing POV scenes from like her position where she's acting his part, literally miming what he did with his hands as she is saying what he said at the time, and pulling all the faces and everything. And it looks purely designed to humiliate the bloke. Like,
wow.
This isn't
a crazy person.
Like, that's the way it comes across. Yes,
that sounds like.
I mean, I can send you the link, but you can't play on here because it's already been taken down by YouTube once. Yeah. But I can send you an archive link.
Holy crap!
I'm gonna pass on that.
Yeah,
it does feel like it was fully designed to destroy Daniel's life, like massively. And I still think it was part in trying to deal with her own guilt and try and deflect it. But also, if she's doing, it's for attention. Desperate for attention, as well. This is a bit wild. So
when I sent you a quote and said at 9 minutes 11,
yeah,
I was referring. Oh no, that was his video. Okay, I'm getting
where he says that in his current relationship, he has a free pass to go after guys.
Yeah, but it was okay with her because she's NB, and so that means there's a gray area. I'm like, what? I can't even. My brain just goes blur, and I can't even process that as a thing.
What is NB?
Non-binary.
Oh, brother.
Right. And so, amidst all this, it is very evident that Daniel's personal, intimate life is very, I'm just going to say messed up from a more conservative perspective, okay? But I guess it's modern for the progressive side of things. It's just, and this is not to excuse his infidelity by any means, okay? It does seem like he's trying to, repent from it, come to terms with it. His fiance is dealing with it and all that stuff. And if he's not doing any of that stuff anymore, but then he kind of openly admits that he has a free pass to do it with guys in his current relationship.
I don't even care about any of that. I'm not going to moralize about cheating or anything. To me, that's between him and his wife, and that's kind of their private business. It's not illegal, so I don't really. Whatever.
Not if they have kids,
I think there is a point. I said it on Saturday, where people are like, "Oh my God, Tiger Woods has been cheating on people." I'm like, yeah, well, he's one of the richest men alive. He's a highly successful, high status bloke. And you're like, I'm surprised he cheated. I'm surprised he hasn't squirted himself inside out. They've been lining up around the street for him constantly. And you're like, oh no, I didn't think he'd do that. It's like, you could go through all of Hollywood, every rich person, you'll find some kind of skeleton in their closet.
Oh, all people in Hollywood seem to be some type of messed up.
Like,
I mean,
I think there is an argument that just biologically, because you go back to kings and everything, they all had harems. They had mistresses living with them in the same place that their wife did. And this has gone through all of history. So yeah, that bit was particularly bothering me.
I do get where you're coming from in terms of it. Is it illegal or is it not and stuff? I will have my own personal judgments on it, of course. I'm a more Christian, leaning, or not just leaning. I am, on that side. But in terms of what is illegal and what is, actionable under the law, the important thing to discuss really are those claims, even if he still has these weird, sex lives type stuff, the accusations. Okay. And so this began with Naomi King making a video about consent and sexual assault where she doesn't name Daniel. And Daniel sent her a cease and desist letter in response to that. And then she decided to make this video accusing him of sexual assault, and it was entitled "Daniel Greene sent me a cease and desist letter." And so it's wrapped up in this cease and desist letter that
even that, right? You say something, and I think they were in that. Her clip of that was in the second video, though. So I think I've seen no naming of him. But if you get a cease and desist letter, you are really stupid if you then continue with a video and double down naming it. That seems like the worst response to do in that situation.
Well, if the cease and desist letter is valid, because that's the question at hand, and she was trying to say, right, that she did not name Daniel. There's no way you could have thought of it. In fact, she said it could have been about anyone. And I was like, okay. So I went back and watched that initial video of her saying, let's talk about, sexual assault. Is it sexual assault if you've kind of pressured into it? And there are some actual pretty wild admissions in that video that also contradict other things that then she claims. So in that video, she claims she did not implicate Daniel Greene's, right? But she literally mentions that something happened to me 2 months ago, right? From the time that she made the video. And it does not take much for people to say, where was she 2 months ago? Oh, she was in Vegas. Oh, look at that. Daniel Greene was at the exact same location 2 months ago, right? This is not a difficult leap for anyone to just... So she gives a specific date and time, date at least, right? Then she said the specific person she's talking about in that video blocked them. And so it is.
Yeah.
Like, if you wanted to check who's blocking Naomi King, you might be able to figure out who she's talking about. And what's really interesting, the entire context of that video, it is clear that she is talking about a specific person, a single specific person. Yet in her later follow-up video, she's tried to say it could have been about anyone. I was speaking generally. It's like, no, you weren't. I'm not an idiot.
That's the same way her entire second video is also done in that very manipulative, passive-aggressive, I'm just pushing up to the line, but if you accuse me of it, I know I can run away from it. Where she's like, well, you know, I didn't say no, and I didn't resist, but I was very shocked. I was very surprised. I had no time to think about it. But I'm not saying anything, but, and you're like, okay, so anyone accusing, well, I didn't say the words. It's like, no, but you hinted at it and implied it and went right up to the point, and then you just think everyone's too stupid to notice.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a shock. Most people were disprove. Most people just ate this up completely. And like, if you look at his initial video saying I'm suing Naomi King, it was downvoted to like oblivion. All his, like he was losing heaps of subscribers.
But Daniel Greene does court that very sort of Marvel fan base, very easily manipulated, all emotional, social justice warrior type group of people that where one accusation would just be, well, it must be true. It is
you mean
not
the Captain Marvel
shake.
fans?
Yes, that is, you're absolutely right with that. Like,
I imagine if you go back through Daniel Greene's history, at some point he said, believe all women. It's that kind of thing. You are courting a fan base that then hung you for it.
Yep. So in this initial video where she's claiming that she wasn't speaking about necessarily Daniel, when it's really clear that she was, she calls the person in that video a predator, just flat out predator. And that is, all right, that's a very serious accusation. And people could, like, if anyone wanted to do the most modicum amount of, I guess, research to figure out, I wonder who she's talking about, nearly anyone could pretty easily figure out it's Daniel Greene that she's talking about in that video, if they bothered to look into it. Because she also says in that video, she claims that she was this man's therapist for 3 years. Okay. Now, if you want proof, right, that she was absolutely talking about Daniel Greene in that video, in her follow-up video where she says that, I wasn't necessarily talking about Daniel Greene, she mentioned specifically in her follow-up video where she's trying to claim it's not necessarily about Daniel Greene, that she had been dealing with Daniel for 3 years specifically. And the person that she was accusing of being a predator in the previous video, that she was his personal therapist for the exact same time period for 3 years, right? So she basically admits in her follow-up video, 100% she's talking about Daniel in that first one, okay? And so in terms of Daniel sending the cease and desist letter in response to her doing that video, that one I think is going to be a bit up to personal subjective reaction. It's pretty clear who she's talking about. I think Daniel would have known 100% she is calling me a predator in this video, not naming me by name. Yeah.
The question isn't whether he knows, it's whether you think other people have enough information to know. But I'm not sure that matters, because as long as she is actually talking about you, then the cease and desist would be relevant, because it's like, I want you to stop talking about me.
Yes,
so
right?
I don't...
Well, not only that, he knows that he's talking about him by the context, whereas the person who's been dealing with 3 years, they blocked them. It happened 2 months ago.
And assuming she's telling the truth. In fact, the only way he wouldn't know about him is if she was lying about everything. Like, if it was all fabricated, he'd be like, it could be anyone. Well, I didn't do that.
Well, in terms of the specifics I just mentioned, that seems to be accurate. Like, he did block her. It happened 2 months ago, and they had a relationship for 3 years. But as to it being sexual assault, that this person, she literally calls this person a predator, right? Daniel would have been in a position, I know she's talking about me, and she is accusing me of being a sexual predator, essentially raping her, which has now come out. That's not seeming to be true at all. But from his perspective, that's the accusation. And so...
That is the accusation.
Yeah, that is the accusation.
She said everything but the word. But it is sort of like, oh, I was doing it. I was shocked. I was stunned. I couldn't fight back. I didn't fight back. But I also couldn't because I was shocked. And I put barriers up. It was, if you knew every single pressure point to hit, they were all hit without saying the actual word.
Yes, she literally says that she was drugged and half asleep, and Daniel then took advantage of her and
pressured me, took advantage of me. Yeah, all the.
How much pressure do you need if you're drugged and half asleep, though? Really?
If you're half asleep,
about this stuff over messages.
You like technically.
And then hang around with him for 3 days. I know people will say
it's a very long-lasting drug.
And she went, I had nowhere to go. Her exact words in it was, I had nowhere to go. So the next day, we went to Area 15, which is like a place in Vegas that we've been to, and you get a taxi. Just go. Yeah. Like, what's going to happen? He couldn't get back into your house. It was so wild.
Well, this is kind of couple before the horse, because I think what I'm about to say is this was one of the most damning and things that made me feel like she was complete full of crap. But because we kind of led to that, I will jump on it right now, right? Where she claims that she was drugged and half asleep, which is contradicted by how seemingly alert and able to interact in the, sexual encounter she was, right? And so I think that was a lie. And then Daniel actually calls that out as like, no, she was completely sober when I arrived. Like, that's what he says. But then after that, okay, if she blames the fact that she was drugged, that let her be taken advantage of, why in the very next day she decides to stick around with Daniel, have a good time with him, and then take drugs again the second day and allow herself to be alone in the same room with him, where one thing leads to another once again? And it's like, if it was the drugs, if you blame the drugs for your poor indecision and letting you take advantage of, wouldn't you not take drugs the very next day around that guy who took advantage of you? Like, why would you?
In her second video, she says after the first time, she went to sleep and he apologized and said, I feel really bad about what happened because I've been cheating on my wife and stuff. And he was like throwing up in the bathroom or something all night and didn't sleep. And she went, that's why I believe that he wouldn't do it again when he told me it wouldn't happen again. Then it happened again. And I'm like, if this wasn't something you wanted to happen, you'll be like, oh, it's all right, mate. I'm sure it'll be fine next time. I believe you. That's not the attitude that you'd have.
Yes. And then the second time, she admits to giving him oral. All right.
Yeah.
And that, look,
but again, as she describes that in a way that, well, it didn't say no, but he did pull her to the ground, and you're like, hang on.
Oh no, she claims it was like sandpaper. It was awful. All this stuff is like, hang on, you open your mouth. Like, is there no accountability? You can't exactly engage in that act without being partially willing, right? And
you do have teeth.
You do have teeth.
I mean, it seems like a very stupid thing to do. If you're like, hang on.
It's a very good defense mechanism against that particular.
And then this next part is kind of a bit wild for me, because I was like, all right, if this happened a second time and you felt you were taken advantage of, surely you would like, no, this guy's horrible. I cannot be around him.
Okay, the first night you believed him, fair enough. Okay, so the second day you go through everything that happened, or whatever. The third day, I mean, by this point. Now, she's like, well, he was flying home the day after. I was just like, mate, it'll all be over then. I can get this. It's so wild.
And she claims something would have happened again the third day, but she went to get a tattoo and it was painful. She went into some type of shock or something like that. And she says, and that's the only reason why I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember exact words, but she said she was sure Daniel would have touched her again if not for getting that tattoo. But that's her admitting that she would have
never stopped a man before.
Well,
what?
Is that where was it all over here? I mean,
where was this tattoo?
I don't know.
It still wouldn't stop you. Like, whichever half it's on, you've still got the other half. I mean, there's something useful available.
But the thing is, that is her.
Did you know as well? She is a sugar baby, by her own words.
Wait, was it a tattoo of his mother?
I don't know.
That might have turned him off.
Well, the thing is, though, she admits that Daniel would have touched her again, which is her implying that they would have had, relations, a sexual encounter again. And it's like, hang on, a drug's going to be involved in it. You're just saying it would have happened again if not for the tattoo, which is her admitting that she would have consented to doing something again without drugs even in the picture this time. And it's like, a third time you're kind of tacitly admitting that, one thing would have led to another. So all right, I'm like hearing those things. I was like, I am very skeptical now about, how sexual assaulty this, thing was. Okay. And this is all wrapped up. If we take another step back, the fact that, okay, here is a guy who has a girlfriend taking another woman on a trip to Vegas to spoil her where they're going to be alone. And it's like,
I think his quote was on a friendship spoil trip.
Friendship.
And I'm like, I do not believe that, especially in today's day and age with the internet, and especially if you're a sugar baby, that when somebody goes, I want to take you on this trip and I'm just going to buy you a load of stuff, that we're just friends. I do not believe that someone is this naive
I know.
in this current year.
Yeah, like, exactly. Like, hang on. She honestly tried to get us to believe that she did not think this was not set up for a sexual encounter. Like it's in friggin' Vegas.
Do you know what she greeted him in the door wearing?
A bathrobe, he said. I wasn't.
No, well, it wasn't a bathrobe because she wore it. It's a very long jumper. So it's a very long, baggy jumper, which just about covers everything. Just about.
No.
And it's one of those things where even that you're like, okay, so you can use the argument that you're entirely covered, and you are. But it also just ends at the interesting bit, which is suggestive in itself. And then when she's in bed, nothing. And so she went, I've slept in beds like that with loads of people. Like, well,
there is some information that hasn't come out yet. Yeah. There's some information that hasn't come out yet that I think would be quite important with this whole thing, right? First, was 1 or 2 rooms booked? Okay. Did they have separate rooms at the hotel? Even if they had separate rooms, right? That doesn't, redeem the setup. This is clearly 2 people going to Vegas to have a fun time, right?
Hey, what happens in Vegas?
I don't think anyone said, but I also think it was just kind of seemed to be assumed that it was 1 room because she said I had nowhere else to go, so I don't think it was a second room. It
seemed like they were sharing a room, and it's like, oh, really? If that's the case,
with one bed.
With what? Like, if it had one bed, what the hell are they trying? What is she trying to get us to believe here? Okay, and if Daniel, I think if Daniel had them, he would have dropped them in his follow-up video. Maybe there's something further will come. But if there was any previous conversations of them flirting or even sexting or anything like that prior to this meeting, then it's like, you could not get me to believe that she did not know that this meeting was intended to go that way.
From the way that she described it, there were logs, but I didn't read all the logs. But I know there was a 40-minute phone call where afterwards he said something like, this was a wake-up call. I realized this shouldn't happen. You've got me to go back to therapy and stuff. And it sounded like the way she was talking about it, something happened on that call where he basically knew he was going to cheat, didn't want to, so started therapy again. And that made them start, we're just going to be friends in Vegas.
Well, that's my other question. She said that she had an association with him for 3 years. And it's like, okay, where does those 3 years fit in regards to this event? She claims she was not
legitimate therapy.
Just acting as like
that. I'm just gonna say, isn't there something ethically wrong?
I think she's one of the kind of people that would probably use the term emotional labor. It's that kind of group you're talking. Yeah.
So Prophet of the Dragon says yes, 1 room confirmed. Because if that is confirmed, it's like, this is not an innocent meeting at all, right?
I think we've concluded that already.
But the thing is,
had an affair and everything. The only thing is,
her claim is that this was just a little holiday between 2 friends wanting to spend a good time in Vegas,
naked in bed together,
with nothing suspect intended. And
she was asked him. This is her words. She was like, so there we were in bed, and I said, "Do you mind if I take that off?" And he went, "Well, you can make yourself as comfortable or not comfortable as you want." So he left it in her hands.
Hang on, she said that's the video that was taken out.
She
said that?
She said this, and she said that to him. Yeah. This is in a second video.
I can't.
So essentially, you've gone to 1 room with a guy, and you both married, because she was with someone as well. And she said, "Oh, I felt guilty about it afterwards." But yeah, if you're asking, should I take my kit off in front of you? Oh, and there was also a thing where I don't know whether she realized she said this. But she was on about how, drugged up and everything she was, and she couldn't really. I was too tired and exhausted to say no. I mean, I could get up and go across the room and make a couple of jokes and then come back. This is after she said she's taken everything off. Yeah. So she's flaunting herself around the room. Starkers. And you're like, oh, no, I'm sure nothing's going on there.
Nothing. Yeah, she's not encouraging it.
Yeah, that's not suggestive of her in any way. Like, you can't expect her to be responsible for any of this.
I can't. And remember, she claimed that she was half drugged and half asleep in that initial video. Right?
And fully naked.
Well, she claimed that she
walking around the room.
Well, this is all news to me because I haven't seen the video she took.
The second video is hilarious, but like it seemed, because I've seen other people go, we're actually quite surprised that she made the second video, because people were already going, this doesn't seem right on the first one, and this second one just seems like she like you enjoyed the attention. She's smiling during it. It's a very strange like difference in. It's almost a performative, entertaining presentation for something that's supposed to be horrific that happened to you. And it just seems to be deliberately to destroy his reputation and humiliate him. Multiple times she acts stuff out to humiliate him.
Oh, look what people are saying. She just erased her last video again.
What, the apology one?
Is this the apology one or the one that she
I don't know.
There was a most recent one where she claimed Daniel was that there's other accusations. Ready? It was called Another Allegation Against Daniel Greene. Is that still up?
When was that?
It was like 4 hours old from when I downloaded it. It's called Another Accusation Against Daniel Greene, and I have the video here. But has that been taken down? Oh, people are saying both have been deleted. Holy!
Hey, if you delete your apology video, what on earth are you doing?
Oh,
why can't I find her channel? Where's her channel gone?
What is the channel gone?
No, well, and I don't know. It came up in the search results before. Oh no, there it is. For some reason, it wasn't popping up in the when I searched her name.
Is it just me, or
she's deleted the apology?
It just sounds like a woman's
she's deleted the apology.
Yeah, the one that said, "I'm sorry, I take everything back." I was. Because that was the one that goes, nothing happened, but I have trauma. And you're like, well, how could... What?
Right.
Yeah, that one's gone. 3 weeks ago was her last video.
I have it saved. Well, hang on. People are saying all the Daniel videos are gone.
Sounds like she talked to a lawyer.
Well, they have lawyers involved.
She said she didn't have... he had a lawyer.
Yeah.
No, his aren't. His video's still there 13 hours ago.
Yep, so Daniel Greene's is still up then.
Oh, and he had one 5 days ago? I hadn't seen that one, but that's just a minute long.
Yeah, that's the one where he says is suing her, and that the allegations, he says he has proof to exonerate himself. And so I had that
later video. I think he did.
It seems like that. He's showing receipts, right? Especially the one
her apology came out. Well, I think she hit unlisted. She had unlisted her first video, and her apology came out. It was like 40 minutes after his video. She did something immediately. Oh no, I think she almost immediately took her videos down, and then her apology came out after she said, "I filmed this multiple times."
Wow. Like, if she's taken down her current videos, that really sounds like that there was massive blowback. She's the type of person
I don't know how often she posts videos, but her last video was 3 weeks, and before that was 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a normal schedule?
Yeah, right. And she's the type of person that really wants to, I think destroy Daniel, but also paint herself to be a victim. She wanted sympathy, and now all the blowback, because the comments under that video where she admits that she lied, right? But I'm still a victim, right? They were unforgiving of it. They were ripping her to pieces, and so I get the impression that she's not handling the blowback very well. And
the moment she apologized, it's quite a shame that you have to get to that stage. Because the second video alone, you watch it like, this is this doesn't make any sense. But after her apology, she even said, I apologize for the damage that I've done to survivors and all this kind of stuff. And so then all the comments are like, I can't believe you've made it harder for actual real people to come out.
Yeah,
And
that I false accusers like Naomi are disgusting. Does she understand that this not only was ruining his life if Daniel wasn't able to prove his innocence, everyone was just believing her, even with the holes that, some of us were seeing. Everyone else, they were ready to just crucify the guy, destroy his life. And this is the type of life destruction allegations that has driven people to suicide. Okay.
yeah,
Right. So the type of woman that would do this type of thing is vile, right? And so Daniel shared messages, and this is one of the receipts that he dropped, right? And this is seemingly, messages from her where she says, "Don't you dare try and put any of this on me. I never asked you to cheat. The last night I said I wanted to do more because you said that had been your favorite part." But that's her saying she wants to do more. And I think this is in context to the second day, right?
Mm-hmm.
That she is then admitting here that the second engagement was not only consensual, that she wanted to do it, right?
And imagine it from her story. Now you've seen this. So it's like, well, the first night I didn't want to do anything, but it happened. I didn't want to do anything, but it happened. The third night, you're like, look, I still want to do anything, but you enjoyed those last two so much. I was like, okay, then. Wait. It's like be ashamed to let you down.
She's a people pleaser. So much last time. Hey, come on. She's a people pleaser. Let's get her married.
It's like, I know heroism is sacrifice, but I'm taking it a bit far.
This is wild. And then she literally says, "It seems only you are allowed to express any kind of lust," meaning she's admitting to having expressed lustful desire and intent to Daniel on the second night. And she was claiming that it was all reluctant. She didn't want to do it. I was basically forced into it, was what she was claiming. And this tweet, this message, shows that she was more than a willing participant in that, right? And I also find it wild that, was she aware that Daniel had these messages?
Well, he says in his video,
everything was deleted.
At one point,
right.
She had she showed deleted videos, and that maybe she thought that he wouldn't have a copy of them, and that's why she wasn't telling the truth about them. Something you'll never be able to prove, though, either way.
Oh my gosh. There's another thing in her initial accusation video that was a massive red flag, which I'm going to mention. But just another thing I feel like mentioning, because I think it's worth pointing out that I had the skepticism for when it first came out. Remember before FNT, I just quickly tangentially mentioned this Disbrew. Do you remember what I said about it before FNT? My feelings on it?
Not particularly.
No, okay.
I remember that was the first time I'd heard about it, but had no idea what was going on.
Well, even then I said, I don't believe her. I think she's got a lot of holes in it. And this is before she admitted she was wrong or anything. And so another wild kind of thing in her accusation video. And this gets a little crude because, she goes pretty graphic, so I apologize. But it's in terms of bringing forward evidence, I need to kind of mention it, right?
Well, you already said she has a lot of holes, so you can.
Apparently, she'll get tattooed, though. That's the problem.
She gives this account of Daniel trying to go further. Look, I need to be crude because the only way to try and explain what basically stick something inside, right? And she said, I told him repeatedly, I'm not having sex without lube. I'm not having sex without lube.
This was she repeated that in a second.
She repeated that.
This was a very weird comment that I just didn't quite understand.
It was very weird, right? But unfortunately, that's an important statement for the evidence and other things like that, because she was saying that, right, after she claimed that she was drugged and half asleep. That is not the objection someone who is drugged and half asleep would have the mental capacity to bring forward, right? That sounds like she is a sober participant in the engagement.
Well, maybe it was the drugs that made her need the lube.
You are also saying that I did say no. She's like, oh, I just... It's like, well, hang on, you turned down part of it. So if you can say no to that, you could have said no to everything. Because when she said no, he stopped.
If she's talking about lube, she had time to think about it.
Yeah, exactly. She had time to think about it then suddenly. And not only...
This is where she acts out what he did. And it's like...
Oh, my gosh. All right. That's what I want to know. But...
Even like what he said, and she makes faces. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen on YouTube. There is no surprise that YouTube took this down. I have no idea what they thought uploading this to the like.
Holy crap, man! So the thing about that statement, right? She was trying to frame it that was her statement telling Daniel no, when it's like, am I on crazy pills? Because what is inherently embedded in that statement is the conditions in which she is agreeing to have sex with him. The condition is, if you have lube, we will have sex.
Yep.
And she was trying to say it in the context that was her saying no. I'm like, that's you saying yes under the right conditions. That is not someone telling him no. And what's also interesting by the context, just from this reaction, like this accusation video, without her admitting it's just wrong or anything, it shows that Daniel did what she told him to do. He was encouraging, he was trying to stick it in, he says just the tip. But then she admits that they didn't finish that way. That was Daniel essentially agreeing to those conditions, right? And then doing something else, which meant Daniel eventually listened to what she was saying and what she wanted to happen in the engagement. Okay. That's not someone forcing himself against someone on conditions where she said it was not right. And again, the fact that what she said was literally a condition of consent under this right circumstances, if you had lube. And then Daniel said the following day, she was the one encouraging him to go find lube. He doesn't give a receipt for that, but is saying that's what she was doing the next day.
I like the way you could have gone, see, I bought it. That would have been hilarious. Look, I had to claim back business expenses.
If he has the receipt, that would be.
You're like, well, he didn't provide a receipt for that. It's like, it can't have been that expensive. He probably didn't care.
Oh my gosh. But he has dropped a receipt of her admitting to wanting another engagement on that second day. And so he also gave a couple of receipts of her, of course, he gives a couple of accounts of her encouraging him. He claims that he had no idea that she was supposedly still on edibles when they met, and he claimed that she arrived, completely sober and aware.
Also, I don't know what the law is over there, but over here that doesn't actually matter. There's numerous evident precedent where judges have ruled drunken consent is still consent.
And that's not even drunk, that's edibles.
Well, people have mentioned that. I'm not experienced in that, but people have said that certain edibles are not as decision impairing as alcohol is.
Yeah, no, pot just makes you have tunnel vision. So it's like it doesn't make you not aware that you're making, a particular decision. It just everything focuses on. That's why it's good for people with ADHD, not ADHD, with PTSD. Because all those oh, you killed a baby and blah blah blah. All those stray thoughts don't come into your head because you're just focused on one thing.
So from her initial video, let's try.
That would explain why she came under him so hard. It was like, you're the only thing I can see in this moment.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So in summary, about from her initial video, there were a number of inconsistencies and massive red flags that cast severe doubt on this being an honest account. Okay. First one, she claimed that she was drugged and half asleep, and her following, account of what happened did not describe someone who was drugged and half asleep or unaware. She was describing the account in pretty graphic detail, describing conditions in which she was telling Daniel no, and then at a condition which, yes, it's okay, other things like that. So that was Okay, that is not sounding, consistent.
I would also, can I point out real quick, the claim that she's drugged and half asleep makes it sound like he drugged her.
It does. It does.
Like she showed up, 2 hours into being, high on edibles. That's so significantly different.
Although it was 12 hours, as he proved.
Oh,
12 hours after she took it. 40
well,
milligrams.
Then she's not high on edibles anymore.
That was his argument, yeah. And he had a timestamp on the text messages of when.
Unless she just has them in her purse and she's eating them the whole time.
Well, she even shook a bottle of them in front of the camera, on her video. I think she said he walked through the door and he commented about how high she looked. This is her story, so it's from her point of view. And her response was, "Want to catch up." So this isn't somebody that was particularly bothered about it.
No.
Mm-hmm. All right. And so we have the red flag of the
her.
Oh, sorry, what?
Her. After watching her video, she's just a walk. She has more red flags in her than China. This is somebody I would not be going near. And then just from one video, I'm like, whoa.
She comes off like a very messed up individual with a lot of her own issues she's dealing with. And so, yeah, the inconsistency of the comment of drugged and half asleep, the fact that this was in Vegas, what appears to be in a single room that were like that they were ready to share, and she's claiming that it was never meant to, lead to, sexy times from the just a setup of the event is like, that seems massively suspect. Okay, so there's two big red flags from the initial video, just without even her admission or other things, right? Then there's the comment of not having sex without lube, right? That's an admission that she is consenting under the right conditions to it. Okay. Then the fact that, the second day, if she really felt that this was, forced on her or assault or anything like that, she puts herself in the exact same positions, right? That led to the first sexual engagement on the second day, that then led to the sexual engagement on the second one. So that's another red flag. It's like, this does not seem like, someone who is an unwilling participant in all this. Okay. And, there was a final one, but my brain is dead. But already there's plenty of big question marks that I have with her video. And her initial video is so damn performative.
So is the second one.
Really? Oh my gosh. Because
literally performative in part.
See, I can't believe it, dude. The stuff you're describing.
There's some weird stuff where she sent videos to both Daniel and his wife, and we see the videos, and I think both of them play the videos just with different cuts, and the camera's over here pointing at her, and she's looking this way away from the camera, crying. And that's because that's where your script is. Otherwise, you'd be doing it to the camera if it was off the top of your head, and you wanted to talk to someone legitimately. And it's such a weird angle for an apology, crying explanation thing, unless you're reading a script.
Well, there's so many weird vibes with it. I think she fooled so many people with this performance. Let's listen to some of it, and there's a couple of highlights if I can find.
He was sober and wide awake, and I was half asleep and on drugs.
What? There's the line. He was sober and wide awake. That was probably too soft to hear. Let me crank the volume, because I think the volume is low on that.
He was sober and wide awake, and I was half asleep and on drugs.
Yeah, this is the thing. She's not saying that she said no. She's just walking right up to the point and going, how could I have said yes? But without saying it.
What that implies, right, that statement implies that she was roofied and taken advantage of, where she could barely even be aware. It implies rape, full blown, just that's the severity of what she's saying here. And then she goes on to describe it in such a way that she sounds really sober, and it's but that's the statement. And I was drugged and half asleep. It's whoa. And so,
and also, while we're going through this again, remember She has posted a video which took all of this back, apologized for everything, said at no point was anything non-consensual, that at no point did he force himself on her. From her own words in her own video, nothing bad happened, and now she's taken that down. And you're like, what?
This is wild. All right, so here, right? She leaves in. Like, I don't know how long this goes for. We're at 29-minute mark, and it goes for what, like a full minute? No, it's still going. Look at this. Look at this.
Do you know why I'm covering my eyes? It's because there's no tears.
Oh my gosh. And it's still going. 20, so we're up to 2 minutes. Like people, this is what I think, like, fooled so many people. People are like, have it. Mike, you're muted. What were you saying?
I just wondered if this was crying or hyperventilating.
She's trying to show it's a panic attack due to PTSD and trying to relive the trauma. Right? And I think this is the part where that I think, because people are inclined to be sympathetic, especially to women in distress. And
it's an evolutionary trait, yes.
It is.
Because you have to protect them, so when one's in danger, all men are supposed to instinctively want to be, what's wrong? We need to protect you. What's happened?
Yep. And so this goes on. We're nearly up to 3 minutes. Yeah, so now
I have to say, this is very bad for a video. Like, you should have cut this out and edited it down. It would have been way snappier as
This is all, well, I want to have a discussion about the performative aspect of this, because I actually think she has convinced herself that this is real, that her trauma is valid, even though it's based on a lie. That's kind of my interpretation. I think that's how someone could push themselves to do this. Okay. I could be wrong. This could all be bullcrap. This could all be
the reason why I don't think that is because she didn't say it happened at any point. At no point did she say the words. Everything was always suggestive. It's done with the passive aggressive element of, I'm going to let you imply it, and then if you ever push me on any of these things saying I said it, I could just go, no, I didn't say any of it. It's very manipulative. It just seems to me to be social
manipulative in the extreme.
This
we are up to
this is woman-scorned behavior. That's purely what this is.
Yeah,
she clearly
that's
wanted
probably
something.
part of it.
Yeah.
Remember, after this, he went back to his wife.
Oh, dude, like Daniel shared lyrics of a song she wrote, and in the song she says, like, I can't believe something along the lines of, you would have been mine if we met before her, or something like that.
See?
Right?
Nailed it.
So I think that actually has some validity in that accusation, assumption, judgment. All right. So,
and also, one thing that I haven't seen in any of the videos is she was with somebody. She does say his name, but I can't remember what it was. At the time as well. We don't know whether they're still together, because Daniel Greene and his wife are. He told he came back. Apparently, felt so guilty he told her voluntarily. It's not like she caught him.
So she came home and broke up with her boyfriend and said, "I'm with Daniel Greene now."
Yes, that might he might have found out, because if you've told your wife, maybe they told, because I think they all knew each other, so he may have found out and been like, I don't want any of this.
So that was like over 4 minutes. Oh wait, it's still kind of going. Gosh, I think it's full 5 minutes.
Yeah, this is very bad for the only person I've ever seen pull something like this off was the guy that did Darren Brown, who did a Russian roulette trick on TV, and there's about 5 minutes of him just panicking before he finally like pulled the trigger, essentially. Some of the best TV I've ever seen where nothing happens. This doesn't rank anywhere near that.
This is insane. So that's like a full 5 minutes of her performing a PTSD attack to try and present herself as a victim and traumatized by this, when she's now later come out and admitted she was lying, that it wasn't sexual assault. And so that just makes this entire thing one of the most extreme forms of manipulation I've ever seen. This is, and I mentioned this in the recording that I lost, right? And I was a little concerned about it because people are so ready to defend women in distress that I reckon my detractors, everything like that, would have attacked me for it. Like, look at her. You're not believing her. It's so raw and real. And I when I was watching this, I was like, I think this is bullcrap. Before she even admitted it. I'm watching this and like the only reason you would leave this in is to get sympathy points and to manipulate. What you laughing at?
Sorry. I was trying to find her Twitter, so I searched her name, and I found the POV because someone's uploaded the POV clip to Twitter. And I'm like, I can't.
Oh gosh. Oh, wow.
I am not suggesting I would not play this. I just think it's funny.
I don't want to.
Would like to see the humiliate. This is the second video. That's the kind of thing that's in it. It's absolutely wild.
Oh my gosh! Look! I'm just Disparu. I'm trusting you. I'm posting the X link in chat if people.
I was going to say I would not show the thing because that video has been taken down and we don't know why. Exactly,
but that's the link that that Disparu has shared to someone uploading the performative stuff out of. Yeah, I don't want to watch it, but there's that morbid curiosity side that you can't take your eyes off a train wreck.
It is funny. It is very funny.
Oh no. Oh my gosh.
But anyone that watches that and think that is coming from somebody who is traumatized is going to do this for 5 minutes where you're reliving the experience, but then you're willing to act it out in a performative comedy manner, which just comes across as if you're trying to humiliate him. Because that is one thing about the entire, I've said this before, it is if you describe in a sort of, well, this happened to me and then we did this and this, and you remove all kind of, and you specifically and graphically describe the act, it's all going to sound horrible because it's meant to be private in your own home between two people. Yes. It's not supposed to be said out loud, and so everything's like, well, he pushed her to the ground. That alone implies some element of force.
Yes,
but at the same time, if you consent to it, what's the problem? It is the entire thing is designed to destroy reputations. This is why people keep it to themselves.
Well, as I was saying, right, the fact she left in 5 minutes of her performing a PTSD panic attack, right, that it was so traumatic for her to even talk about it, that it triggered a PTSD panic attack, and then she goes on to make a video of her acting out her traumatic sexual assault, and
for multiple minutes.
Multiple minutes. And merely talking about it triggered this PTSD attack, and now she can act out the whole thing seemingly fine? It's like, forgive me if I don't think this is very sincere trauma, right? Holy. My goodness. And like I said, when I saw this, it felt completely performative, and I was like, I think this is all manipulation, but I also had a feeling that, like, if I left that in the video, and I probably would have because I try to stick to my guns, right? I think people would have lashed me for it. It's like, how dare you not believe? Look at this raw, emotional, display. How could you deny that?
There would have been some, but this isn't everybody's first rodeo. We've seen it happen in multiple things. I remember when Angry Joe had this bizarre statement, and she's like, well, I went to his hotel room and he was in the shower and he invited me in. And I said no. And he went, okay, then. It was the most horrific thing in my life. And it was like, what? Nothing happened. What is the problem?
Well, hang on.
I understand stories.
Look, I got to give credit. The mere visage of Angry Joe in the shower is one of the most traumatic things that I can imagine. So I can't blame it. Oh, my gosh. Well, another aspect of this performative side, like I think there is, you have a very good point, Disparu, that this seems very malicious now in hindsight, that she was just trying to destroy his life.
Especially from me going backwards. So I saw her apology video, knew everything was not true, and then watched it in reverse order, essentially. So I was watching her second video, knowing it was all BS, and so that's when it came across more like an entertainment performance. It was bizarre to watch in that kind of order, which is probably why she's deleted the second video, I'd imagine.
Possibly.
It annihilates her entire reputation. The moment you go, oh, actually, I was wrong about everything. I'm so sorry, I've hurt survivors.
Again, everyone, I'd like you to pay attention to the extremity of this accusation, okay? The fact that she said that Daniel Greene sexually assaulted her while she was drugged and half asleep implies full-blown rape, right? That is a criminal offense that she has accused him of that has the potential to literally destroy his life, and similar type of accusations have driven men to suicide, okay? So the disgusting, loathsome, scummy act that she has done is one of the most extremely evil things that you can do, okay? And as to why, there seems to be like a good argument for malicious intent. I can't necessarily prove it, but I can certainly disprove side of that. I can also see that, like, people, someone like her that is so insecure and so desperate for validation and needs to have a positive view of herself that she's not a terrible person, therefore wants to paint herself as a victim. I have seen, like, I know of a very real world situation because it's related to my own personal circle and associations, where someone I know, his wife accused him of marital rape, all right? And also accused him of doing really bad things to his children. The police investigated. He was completely exonerated. No charges were ever levied against him. And I know him personally. And this guy is such a good top tier guy. The accusations that
did it
were
come
put
out
against
during a divorce?
That divorce is certainly related to it all, right?
Generally, those kind of things happen during a divorce when one person is trying for custody.
Yeah. And the most disgusting thing about this, it gets me so angry, right? As soon as the accusations were levied and she went to the police about it, he lost access to his children for years, just based with just the accusation.
And then what happens is, because you've not been with them for years, especially if they're developing children, the court then goes, well, they're 5. They've only been with her for 3 and 4 years. Therefore, they don't really know you. So it's not that important that they know you afterwards. And so just getting that gap increases your thing in the first place.
I mean, and you know what gets me so freaking angry about this stuff, right? He was innocent. He was proven innocent, exonerated after the charge and everything. He literally had to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees to prove his innocence. And throughout all these years, he had complete access to his children, utterly denied, right? And he was an innocent man.
Such cases.
I get so friggin' angry about that, because he loves his kids so much, this guy, right? And his life just was dragged through hell by this disgusting piece of crap harpy that accused him falsely, okay? That wanted to take control of the children away from him, even though he was proven innocent. And look, there's kind of a happy ending to it, because some of the children has left the mother because she's crazy and gone to live with the dad. He's remarried and is happy now, in this new relationship and stuff. And so I think God really came through for him at the end, but that doesn't change the horror that he went through. And someone very close to me attended the court trial where this was put on court and told me of what this ex-wife did. And she got on stand, and similar vibes to this. She starts to account this traumatic experience of her husband raping her, right? And crying her guts out, my husband raped me, and everything like that. And it was all bullcrap. Mm-hmm. But she was such she has mental issues, this lady, right? And she was
is it though? Because I don't think if you do an action for your personal gain, which is kind of calculated, I don't think that's a mental illness at all. That actually seems very logical. That seems planned. That's fully compos mentis.
Sociopathy.
This is what I'm wondering.
The one of the reasons I don't like those kind of diagnoses is because the moment you give someone a tagline like that, a medical condition, you remove responsibility from them.
Look, this is a good point.
I'm just ill, and that's I don't really like any of those. And most of the things, when you find out like how the DSM was created in the first place, it's just a load of men standing around in a room shouting out things and they get written down on a whiteboard. It just all seems to be pulled out of someone's arse somewhere along the line. And I am far more along the lines of, there are only really two ways you can be. Either you're fully responsible for your actions, you know what you're doing, and you can be held accountable for them, or you have no idea, you're not in control, in which case you should be in an insane asylum because we can't trust you because nobody knows what you can do and you're not responsible for your actions. So I don't really care about the diagnosis.
I think what you just said is a very good point about people using it to take away culpability for those actions, because I think a lot of what she did was knowing and intentional against this person that I am aware of and know, right? That she went out of her way to try and destroy his life. Yet part of me thinks that I think some people are capable of telling themselves a lie that they know is a lie, that they end up partially believing.
Partially, yeah.
Yes.
I think they still know.
I think they still, yes. Yes.
I think it's like, it essentially becomes a fantasy that they can live in. And so they get all the emotion, the effect, but they still know it's a lie. They know it didn't happen to them. It just feels as if it happened.
That's kind of what vibes I get from this performance. 5 minutes where she has driven herself to a panic attack, right? Is it a real panic attack? I don't know. A lot of people thought it was genuine. I was like, this feels super performative, but she is trying to push herself into an emotional state. And
there are lots of times in a second video where it's, well, I'm not sure in the second video exactly, or whether she's playing, because she plays multiple clips of her in the past, so I don't know whether it was in one of those, but it seems like she's trying to cry, and she's acting as if she's crying. It's never any tears, though. I mean, if you're going to become an actress, get a bit of snot going, or runny nose, you've got to master your craft, love, better than this.
Good comment here. I'm with Disparu on this. Accountability is important. She's a liar and should be in jail. Either that or is insane and thus needs to be on therapy or institutionalized. There are those extremes.
Her apology even said things like, I didn't mean to imply that anything happened that was against my will. I'm sorry?
What do you mean? You said that
we can
blatantly.
Watch the videos, love.
Let's I think we will react to her I'm so sorry video that she's now taking down.
I think this is an important thing to watch first, where she just admits everything.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it can come across as if you're being brutal. It's like, it's all wrong.
Yes.
Taking the piss out of it at this point, it didn't happen.
Well, let's watch some of it, because holy crap.
5th time I have tried recording an apology video, and there is no way to get it right. I am so sorry to every survivor that I have hurt in doing this. That was not my intent. And it breaks my heart how many people I have hurt.
Oh, now it's about her. It's about her. It breaks her heart.
I'm sorry you felt that way. That's what that is.
I have trouble believing anything that she's sorry. Well, I didn't want to hurt someone. You literally said that this guy took advantage of when you were half asleep and drugged. That is a life-destroying accusation. That will destroy his life.
If you don't want to hurt people because everyone got it wrong and they all took the wrong, because you didn't mean to imply any of this stuff, why did you delete the apology video? If you were really sorry, don't delete the apology video.
Also, why don't you start with apologizing to Daniel?
She gets there, but she's first, everyone else. Yeah.
I have been reading your comments, and I am devastated by what I have done.
She doesn't sound. I mean, if she was devastated, I think she would more of emotional. Right? But look, maybe I'm reading too much into it.
This is not normal behavior. This is not.
I think it was. I think that you can enjoy attention, and then you can realize the attention is turning against me. And you're like, oh crap! How can I get people back on my side? If you really enjoy being the center of things.
And look, when she says this is not normal behavior, it's like, hang on, you made a video accusing Daniel, not by name, of being a, she specifically said, a predator. That was the word. She specifically accused Daniel of being a predator, and that was several years ago. Okay, this seems like complete normal behavior. It seems like this is how you have been operating for years now. So again, I do not.
Well, it might be her normal behavior, but it is not normal behavior.
It's not for for
No.
bringing people. But I think by that she's trying to say it's not normal behavior for her. That she's not actually like this. It's
also worth mentioning that when she spoke about years ago, when she spoke about somebody else that apparently Daniel had done this to, in Daniel's video, he said that was a stalker who just made everything up. They were stalking him, and it was a bit confusing in his video, but it sounded like he'd now found out who that was.
Yeah, he kind of mentions the name of the stalker. Now, everyone, of course, we are going to get to the super chats, so I'm not forgetting you.
Okay, and I'm checking myself. Part 2 was taken down by YouTube. It got flagged for sexual content.
And I didn't know, because you're speaking graphically, but the fact that you're saying she acts stuff out, I'm like, what?
Yeah, she acts everything out, and she does get into bed with nothing on. You don't see anything, but you can tell. If I was YouTube, I agree with YouTube's decision.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not the one who took it down. I'm not.
Well, she's a sugar baby, so
I'm not trying to pretend it didn't happen. And I already know that a bunch of you have downloaded it, so I'm not trying to hide. I am so sorry to every survivor that I have hurt in this. I am also, horrifically sorry. I want to apologize to Kayla so much.
What about Daniel?
The wife?
Yeah, we're not at Daniel yet. I guess.
And Daniel, I am devastated by how many people I have hurt. I never said that I said no. I never said that I fought him off. I never said that I said stop.
Nope. She just said everything
but you
else.
Implied it. Yeah, you said everything else. And when you say that, especially when she was trying to say, I'm not going to have sex without lube, that comment, she was framing that as her, attempt to that's me saying no. That was her implying when embedded in that was her a consent to under these conditions.
It happened too fast, too aggressively, and she was too stoned to say no. It was the thing.
But this part comes off as quite disingenuous because now she's trying to backtrack and say, I didn't really say he raped me. I said everything else and implied it. But because I never specifically said, it's not as bad, guys. Trust me. That's
this is gaslighting that I despise more than anything else because they think you're well, it's not that they think you're stupid. They think they can get away with it, and that even though everybody sees through it, they must know how transparent this is to everybody. And they're like, yeah, but you can't call me on it. And they think playing a verbal word game gets them out of things, and they can't be held accountable. That's all this tactic is. You can't pin me on anything. So legally, I didn't do anything wrong, but.
And there was blowback in the comments when this video was up, and so
I'm not surprised
because no one is buying her bullcrap anymore. Is that why she, took the video down?
I never said that he raped me.
You were implying it so much. Yeah. You called him a predator in the initial video back. And hang on, holy crap! I think in that initial video where she didn't mention Daniel Greene, I think she almost says that. It's not like official rape, but it kind of is. I think she has something along those lines that she said in that old video. Don't quote me on it.
In the second video, that the entire acting out implies that all along. Even when she said he pushed me down to the ground, it is implying if I don't go along with it, he will get more aggressive. That was the kind of angle it was going for.
I know, she was in tears saying, if I didn't get that tattoo, I know he would have touched me again, implying that would have been against his, your will.
I still don't know how a tattoo stops anything. I'm really, that's what confuses me the most.
Yeah, because it's not all the other tattoos, it's the new one that would really
it's like,
put them
where
off.
is this tattoo? That's what I want to know.
I want to know. Oh my gosh.
And now I have hurt thousands of people. I have become that person that has set survivors back. And that revolts me.
And I think not necessarily revolts. I think she is starting to see that how much of a despicable person she is, and that's what's revolting her.
No, I think the crowd turned against her, and that's what she doesn't like. I think it's I got caught.
like I wasn't awake when Daniel dropped his first video. Like the sorry ones, were they after he dropped his, receipts,
This
Daniel?
apology video was a few hours ago.
Few hours ago, because that seems after Daniel dropped the receipts, and then maybe people were actually believing Daniel. And
Yes,
she's
because if you check YouTube search now, there's a load of people going, "I'm sorry, I was wrong. I now support him." So all when he dropped that, everyone turned on it. It's a very good video from him. If this hadn't happened, this is just the final nail in the coffin. But everyone would have been on his side anyway, just from his video. And so
the apology was right after he dropped the video.
I think because she says she took the first one down, YouTube took the second one down. She's unlisted the first one, and she says at the start of this she tried to record it multiple times, so there'll be a bit of a lag. Very quick.
Look at this. Poor, Beard, he says, my ex did the same thing. We broke up, lost my job and home. Dude, I can't stand this crap. It destroys people's friggin' lives. There needs, I think Daniel should continue suing her and take her to friggin' court, right? She deserves to be in jail for what she's done.
You have to remember, one of the things that Amber Heard said at the time, and it was recorded, which is the only the reason he got away with it, is, I can do this to you and no one will believe you. That is everybody knows that this is a setup in society. Everyone knows they'll be they will believe the women and not the men, and that it's used against them. It is a case of, if you give somebody power and say you will not be held accountable for your actions, they will abuse it. It is the fear of punishment which holds a lot of people in line with the law.
I think of a woman and I think of a man and I take away reason and responsibility.
So Mike is quoting a line from As Good as It Gets, where there's an author who's the main character, and a woman asked him, how do you write women so well? And his response was, I think of a man and I take away reason and accountability. And he's framed as an asshole in the show, in the thing, that it's just like, why is that being?
This is the problem with arseholes. If they're so wrong, how come they're always so right? If being an arsehole is so wrong, why are they always correct?
Prophet of the Dragon says there are so many I'm sorry videos from booktubers is disgusting. Like the entire booktuber community just threw Daniel under the bus without even hearing his side. And in my video that I recorded and lost half the thing I was saying, wait until you hear his side at least. Daniel says he has proof. Shouldn't that cause you pause to just wait to hear what that proof is? Because it seems like as soon as he dropped it, everyone was like, oh, okay, maybe Daniel actually is not as guilty as everyone was saying he was.
You know what this kind of reminds me of is Anna Kasparian. Remember when she got sexually molested by some bums, and then the left totally turned on her
they've turned on her multiple times since.
Yeah.
This happens multiple times, and it is a lesson for Daniel, which I don't think he'll learn. But despite that, she's apologized at this point. He was correct. He did nothing wrong. Blah blah blah. But he did get completely destroyed by his own audience that he's been courting. It's happened to J.K. Rowling. If you court this kind of crowd, eventually something will happen, and they will not give you a fair shake. They will not look at your past deeds or the way you've behaved with them or anything else. They will immediately crucify you because that's what they've been trained to do. That's what the entire ideology's taught them to do. They will turn on you. Maybe he should look at some of his other beliefs. But do you know how he met this woman? Because this is amazing. She says this in the second video. He slid into her DMs over BLM protests.
Of course. Of course.
It's exactly as preachy a message as you would expect. Like the whole 9 yards about all the kind of stuff, how I'm all on your side, people need to be voices and everything. That's how he chatted her up.
People don't understand how far left Daniel Greene actually is. He's actually really far left. And like I said in the very opening kind of intro of that lost video, I think if similar accusations was risen against any one of us, Daniel, he gives me strong impressions. Maybe he might change now. We'll see, but I don't know, right? He struck me as the exact type of guy who would have just been on the cancel bandwagon from the get-go. And the only people, because I've been following this since it all dropped, right? The only people that I saw even giving Daniel the slightest benefit of the doubt was people on the right. And it was two. It was me and John De La Rosa. And look, John, I think he misses the mark a lot, but other times he's on the mark. And he was on the mark here. He actually said, look, she doesn't sound genuine. They're the only people I saw giving Daniel the benefit of the doubt. Okay. And if that shouldn't tell you something, right, about which side actually believes in guilty, innocent, innocent and proven guilty, and hearing people out, all that stuff. And it's not to say our side doesn't sympathize or want to support actual sexual assault, survivors, people that are sexually assaulted. That's horrifying. Of course we're going to support them. But we also need proof. It's really important.
That entire side is based off, it's an emotive ideology, all about emotion. And her videos were created to drive that emotion.
Aldan says the boys from the INCs also were sharing some skepticism by sound of the context of that. Good on them. Good on them. Then again, which side is actually and these are not anyone that has any love, necessarily for Daniel Greene. I don't think Daniel cares one spit for us. I think he doesn't like me much at all. But in spite of that...
I don't care whether I like Daniel Greene or not. If he didn't do it, I don't want him to be punished for it.
Exactly!
So I don't see what the problem is.
It's simple sticking to bloody principles. And even if the guy, might not...
It's not even a complicated principle.
It's not! It's not!
You think this would be basic?
Right? And even if I don't think Daniel would give any of us that level of charity, it doesn't mean that we should abandon the simple principles. Innocent until proven guilty. Wait for the more information to come out, and don't throw people under the bus and let their lives get destroyed based on mere accusations. Holy. Hey, Justin, dude, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. Night Swatch memberships. Legend, dude. Appreciate you. And of course, we are going to get to the super chats. Holy. Let's see if we can get through this. We're halfway.
And I hate it to every sexual assault survivor who watched my first video and felt something and related and then watched part 2 and felt completely betrayed. That also breaks my heart.
What did she expect? What did
I think it's genuinely impossible to watch the second video and be on her side. It's that wild. It's like...
Holy.
And remember, she says in the video multiple times that people had a problem with dates and timelines and stuff in the first one, so I'm doing this to clarify. And I think, because it comes across quite smirky. Like, her, I got a lot of attention the last time, so we're doing another one for views. Which is a weird thing to do about this scenario in the first place. And then it just goes really far.
And again, the fact that she would act out the entire sexual assault when she's supposedly so traumatized by it that merely talking about it triggers a PTSD panic attack is like, oh my gosh. Now, as to will Daniel actually learn from this? Maybe a little, but I don't think it's pretty far left, and I don't think that's going to change much. But if he pays attention to Daniel, who are the people that was actually willing to hear you out? All right. Maybe that should give you an indication as to the people you might want to, associate with. People that aren't going to just throw you under the bus. Because here's the thing, Daniel.
Or at the very least, cut off the people that immediately threw you under it.
Right?
Daniel? If this book talk threw you over, I wouldn't be interacting with them again.
Right?
At minimum.
Think about it, because Daniel... If he, transgresses a single progressive, woke, orthodox standard, right, he's going to get crucified again. That's the audience that is captured. He's going to be a slave to his audience, which is why I think he often virtue signals and condemns J.K. Rowling and oh, by the way, I reckon Daniel is this close to throwing Brandon under the bus, Brandon Sanderson. As soon as Brandon Sanderson comes out and advocates for anything that's a bit more conservative, that's based on, our shared religious beliefs, because he's Mormon like me.
But I thought people were complaining that Brandon Sanderson had gone too far the other way.
I'm
about halfway through the book, and they keep being paragraphs and statements which are obvious real-world politics put into the thing. I don't feel like I've hit anything that would cause the backlash that people seem to be giving him. but it
That
is
was-
very obvious. It is far more of a political book than it was before.
Yeah.
Like entire scenes that shouldn't exist and only exist there to be like, racism is bad.
That's been my reading on it, and I've actually spoken to Brandon about this. I have a video, is Brandon Sanderson Woke, and I share it from his perspective, and that's confirming everything that I've kind of looked into it on the matter as to how far gone it is. But
there's literally a scene where they go to get a book from a library, and Syl is there, and she's discriminating against Syl because she's not a human, and so she doesn't respect her. And it's literally, you should respect people who are different than you. It's so bizarre as a scene. They just pick up a book.
So there's clearly that stuff in it as well. And I mentioned, and Brandon,
women need more political power and stuff. All that's in there as well. We need to give them equal voting rights and things, and they shouldn't have to wear gloves on their safe hands. There's lots of that kind of thing.
Wow. And look, I say
think
in
at
the
one
video,
point he says, "I'm too progressive for them." I think that's a line in the book.
Well, I say in the video, Brandon is far more progressive than me, and he is a little woke by that kind of metrics, but is nowhere near as far as like Daniel Greene, and he doesn't cancel people for holding different opinions. And here's the thing. He also has opinions that are very traditional. Brandon has some very important views on traditional marriage and how important it is. Okay. And you can see that in his writing, and his writing is really advocating for the importance of marriage in so many things, like the relationship between Steris and Wax in the Wax and Wayne trilogy. It's one of the most brilliantly written kind of marital relationship progression arcs I've ever read. I love it to this day. Okay?
And you can do this. Like Star Trek did it all the time. The thing is, it has to fit within the universe that you're doing it in, rather than turning the universe that you're creating into your own. And it feels like he's transforming that world into ours, and that's the passive progression. Like, nah, Star Trek never did that. They would go to a foreign land, and they just meet people that live that way, and then you'd have people going, I think it's good, I think it's bad. Like, nobody tells Nirvani that actually she should be oppressed. Like, there's no character that does that.
Yeah. Excuse me. But Daniel, I remember watching a video of his a while back where he mentions that, look, I know Brandon's religion and that there are problem things that I really disagree in the religion. And so he kind of was implying that if Brandon advocates for some of the more traditional values in Latter-day Saint, belief, that he was ready to just throw Brandon under the bus, right? He's that type of person. And will he change from this? I bloody hope so. I bloody hope that this should be a wake-up call, but I don't know if it will be.
It would be very interesting if he ever did, given how much effort Brandon Sanderson went to, like bending over backwards to not say anything against them regarding Wheel of Time. He even at one point said, I don't want to say anything negative about the show because it will give some people ammunition, meaning people like me and you. And so he bent over backwards to be like, oh no, went on Daniel Greene's, he'd met him multiple times, he's done multiple interviews with him. It would be quite hilarious, actually, if he was the one that threw him under the bus when he would never appear on other people's things, but he has. He's
just on that note,
that benefit.
You've heard like Brandon's public statements against Wheel of Time and stuff recently, where he has said that they're bad.
About a year ago or something, I heard them. None more recently, but
there was like a recent.
I've seen
interview.
over time his opinions seem to be getting progressively more. Severe.
They're bad. Yeah. There was a recent interview where he mentions something about why fantasy adaptations are so bad, and he specifically mentions Rings of Power and Wheel of Time as being examples of being bad, done. Because here's the thing, right? Brandon, he is actually a pretty impressive example of someone who truly strives his very best to never say anything unkind about anyone. Like he has a really strong standard, and it's his view on trying to be Christ-like and stuff like that.
I entirely disagree with that kind
worldview, but that's his perspective.
Obviously,
yeah. What gave that away, whispering? Right?
Wouldn't have a YouTube channel otherwise.
But I can sympathize with that because that is one of the personal struggles that I have, where I actually try my very best to love all of God's children, love thy neighbor and stuff like that, but also call out sin and evil where it is, right? And criticism is an essential part of that. And so that's kind of, and I am far more critical than Brandon is. But Brandon he legitimately tries his very best to never say anything cruel about anyone. The thing is, though, for how much of a talented writer he is, there is like no way in reality can you convince me that he was never aware of the problems in Wheel of Time or The Last Jedi or anything like that. A talented writer like him, he would watch that. He knows there are massive problems with it, and then he struggles
to write
with
something good. You have to know what's bad.
Exactly.
Otherwise, otherwise you're saying it was just luck. All of his books being massively, it was pure luck, and he had no idea with good from bad, and he just happened to write. That's farcical. You could do that with one book, but not as many as he does.
And a good example of this is when I interviewed him. If you look on Shadiversity, I have an interview with Brandon. And in that interview, I asked him, so Brandon, what do you think of The Last Jedi? And his response was, oh, no, you're going to get me in trouble. Because I knew he would. It was impossible he could have liked that piece of crap with him being a talented writer he is, right? And Wheel of Time is interesting because when I heard him talk about it and stuff like that, he was always looking for the positive, the things that you could compliment. And that's possible. You can find positives in it, okay? But that's not to say he wasn't, aware of the problems in that show. It is more,
the issue was, in the first season, the only bit that I actually really liked, I still like how the magic, like CGI is done. I think that's cool. But the main bit was when Moraine and Lan fight together in that first episode. And then you find out the only reason that existed is because Brandon Sanderson told them to put it in. The one bit I like about the series is something that he told them to do, and they were like, no, we're not going to do that, and then put it in anyway. They listened to him. Yes. They didn't listen to me about other stuff. That was probably good too.
There's release of him going through the pre-script and saying, like, this isn't right. You should do this better and everything. And he was like massively opposed to Perrin killing his wife early on and all this stuff, right? And there were multiple things.
She was definitely a dark friend. It's not even been mentioned. She was about to kill him with that axe, and the Taveran nature made him do it. And I think that was the story. And then they were saying, well, you can't do that. Like, no, that would make her evil. She can't be evil. And so I think that's been cut from the script, but I 100% believe that's what the story was meant to be.
Yeah. And like, there's actually a comment in his feedback of the script where he says, you're kind of making all the characters come off like assholes.
Yeah.
And that's been out from the
what
beginning.
you know.
Yeah. Well, they're right. But those have been out from the very beginning of the Wheel of Time. So I've been aware that I know Brandon is aware of the problems with it, but he's such a nice guy. He tries to focus on the positive. And he wanted to have a good association with Rafe still. And so I get where he's coming from.
Look, I understand if you want to see the positive and you want to be positive, and so you say positive things, as long as you believe them. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. There's a way of being kind of politically correct and diplomatic. So you'll see the guy that made, I think it's the guy that made Metal Gear Solid, goes to see a movie, and if he likes it, he gives a big long review. If he doesn't, he goes, I have seen Captain America.
I know.
Everybody knows what he means, but he's not assaulting on it. I think you can be like
Chris
that.
Stuckman. You're talking about Chris Stuckman, right? I'm pretty sure.
No, not Chris Stuckman. No, it's the guy that made Metal Gear Solid. I can't remember his name.
Okay. But he does that as well.
Like
he doesn't want to be negative in his reviews, so he doesn't review movies that he knows are bad.
But so I think there are ways of doing it, but I don't think you should lie and say things are good. Which is when he did season 1, definitely gave the impression that you liked the series.
Yeah, he did. But at least now he's been more openly critical of it, and so he's aware.
Oh, for instance, one of the ways that this has happened was the royal family. Somebody said so. I think it was Meghan Markle said something about them, and the Queen just wrote a reply that said, "Some recollections may differ," and it's like, that's amazing. You've just called her a liar without calling her a liar in the best way possible. I really like that kind of comeback to things. So
wow, Justin, Justin LW 2001 gifted 10 Nights Watch memberships.
Nice.
Dude, thank you, legend. Oh my gosh. Let's see if we can get through the rest of her response video, and then we'll wrap up with the super chats. Hey.
Everyone's experience of trauma is different, and I know that for so many people I let you down, and I'm not okay with that. and I hurt so many people. It was not my intent. I genuinely thought I was doing something good.
Yeah.
She only wanted to
notice
hurt
how-
one person.
Notice how she said people experience trauma differently. So even though she's saying nothing happened, she's still saying she had trauma from it. This is the most... Well, nothing happened, so where's the trauma come from?
He broke up with her.
Here is me intentionally
most
trying
accurate,
to...
yeah.
This is her. Here is me intentionally trying to destroy someone's entire life, but I genuinely thought I was doing something good. Even now that she's admitting it, like she lied, I thought I was doing something good in that. Holy crap.
The only way that you could even try and make that make sense is if she spoke to the stalker, believed her, and it was like, I'll take him down. That's the only way I could even interpret that.
Maybe, because, yeah, she mentions that there's this person who claims Daniel raped her, and it's this weird stalker thing. And look, even that she tried to share some messages about, like, Daniel lied. And I was like, it was hard to see. It's like, because, from that. So I was suspicious on that as well.
I thought I was protecting people, but clearly I was not. I am not okay with my behavior. It's really gross. I agree with your comments, and I am going to take a step back and reflect. I don't like this version of me, so I'm going to put an end to this. I'm going to acknowledge my faults. I stand by my trauma, but I do not stand.
Previous video
Trauma.
this chopped up because it really
There's
makes
lots of
the
editing
5
of
minutes
video.
of her whinging more obvious when she's like cutting every 3 seconds in this, and then there's 5 minutes of her just going.
So when she says she stands by her trauma, the only real trauma that you could identify is the guilt she felt for being a homewrecker. And she's traumatized by the fact that she knows she's a terrible person. That's because it doesn't seem like you could actually have trauma from a consensual engagement.
Well, Daniel did say in his video that he truly believes that both of them feel guilty and sorry about what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, but trauma, again, and I know this is their sector of the internet, this is kind of the language that they use all the time. Like people say depressed when they mean a bit sad. She's probably using trauma to mean I got a bit unhappy.
I regret what I did. I feel guilty is perhaps what she's calling trauma there.
There's a comment on a video from 3 weeks ago. It says, yep, this is the last video uploaded. Absolutely nothing unusual or unstable happened in this channel at all. Because she's deleted everything else.
Holy crap.
Oh, she didn't just set it to didn't just set it to unlisted, she privated it. So nobody can watch it even if they have the link now.
Well, I mean, she deserves to go to jail for these accusations. These are false accusations that could destroy someone's life. Like she deserves to be criminally charged. All people who falsely accuse people of such severe things deserve almost near the same level of punishment as the destruction their false accusation might have caused in someone's life.
Yeah. They need to change the laws so that actually happens.
Yeah. It'll never happen though, because
you never know these days,
Yeah, you would have to see an entire switch of society for that to happen to a different reality. All the comments, literally all the comments on a 3-week-old video are about the one she's just deleted. So she's not getting away from this.
No, she's not. No. This is something that
it would be funny if they actually changed the laws to go after E. Jean Carroll for going after Trump.
Oh, okay.
Trump. It's like they do it just to protect Trump, and then all these other people get hit with it.
I mean, I think there already has to be laws under the thing for defamation, slander, whatever like that. Something like that.
That's all like monetary. These people should go to jail.
Yeah.
That's all civil.
Yeah.
Behavior. I am so sorry. I apologize. I genuinely.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say like this is the type of thing that will follow her for the rest of her life. I what you laughing at, this?
One of the comments on her video is someone said deleting videos won't help at this stage, and someone replied she thinks life works like Chat GPT conversations. Where it's only the moment you delete them, they're gone forever.
It's
Nobody
gone,
else knows about them. It's fine.
I don't know how anyone could believe anything she says going forward about significant, serious stuff like sexual assault or anything like that. Like, she's destroyed any measure of credibility from this. It's pretty full on.
I don't know what I was thinking. I don't want to blame mental illness. I don't
want to blame mental illness, but I'm implying that mental illness probably has
I'll suggest it so you can, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
like this behavior, and I'm going to make it stop. And I am so sorry for all of the hurt that I have caused.
You know, interesting about all this entire video, she actually doesn't just come out and say, I lied.
She doesn't apologize to Daniel Greene either.
I think she said once. I think she said, and Daniel, I'm sorry to this, and Daniel.
Oh, because I remember she apologized to his wife, but I never heard his name in it.
Yeah,
I think she just
his name was the afterthought after the wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I just tried to destroy your entire livelihood. Your life could have driven you to suicide. Yeah.
This is also, though, the other side of why I don't like the whole mental diagnosis thing, because people have a habit of thinking no one can exist that can be this evil, and therefore they must be ill, and then they give them the pass on the other side as well. And it's like, no, some people are just evil. Some people are just really bad people.
I agree with you, absolutely. And this feels that this was an intentional act of life destruction lobbed against Daniel as for the reasons, any number of reasons. It could be purely malicious, but I think she did this knowingly and intentionally to destroy Daniel's life. And deflect from her own guilt. She wanted to just, humiliate him. Any feeling of rejection, scorned lover, it could be any of those things.
I thought I was
doing
the right thing. Clearly, I was wrong. And I am deeply ashamed of how I have been behaving.
She's got music videos on her YouTube channel with everything out and just crosses over her chest.
Holy crap.
It's called Fetish, the video. I'm like, I didn't even know this was allowed on YouTube.
I mean, I wasn't even aware of that, and she came off like a sexual deviant from the very beginning. Just even like
she's sitting in a bath of blood.
Holy crap! Because this is what I meant when I was talking about the plan to meet in Vegas, right? She talks about other sexual encounters she had in some of the other follow-up videos and things like that. Just in the context of the few that I saw that made me skeptical, it was very clear that she is a very sexually amorous woman. All right, at the very least. And you're telling me someone who is that sexually involved wasn't, thinking that this meeting in Vegas in a hotel room where they were sharing the same room together wasn't going to be leading to sex, right?
But they were just friends.
They were just
friends. He said friends, so I'd have believed him. It's like the most socially aware people are probably streetwalkers because they've been in every situation. She is a sugar baby. 100% she knows how all of this works.
Oh,
in immense detail.
Yeah. All right, let's hit the super chats. Daniel's response video is still up. He drops receipts, and there's even a bit more kind of defense and context that he shares. I just wanted to really point out the holes in her initial accusation video was enough to make you think, what the hell? And also the larger conversation around false accusations and how they can destroy people's lives, and people need to friggin' calm the farm and stop jumping the gun and just willing to write people off. Do you know there was like a YouTuber that Daniel had collabed with multiple times, that she unlisted every single appearance of him on her channel just based on that accusation video. The
issue is
threw him under the bus.
They have been pushing this line of just believe everybody immediately. They've been pushing that for so long. If it happens to their friend, they kind of have to throw them under the bus because otherwise they're a hypocrite about all this stuff. And so they're not really left with any choice. Not that that's an excuse. I would still if someone does that to you, throw them away yourself. But it does mean that they never really thought of the consequences of their belief system. They thought it was a nice thing. Oh, we should all care about all people. Everyone's telling the truth. And they've never been hit with the blunt reality of people being horrible anymore.
Yes.
I thought the
and
Me
so-
Too thing just kind of winded down like 3 years ago, didn't it?
How
are people
yeah, but
still
that was
buying it?
specifically more of a Hollywood thing.
Yeah,
It was more for
but also
celebrities. A load of
the-
things came out of that which morphed into the ideology of just how you should behave. There
Yes,
was
believe
a
all
load
women
of
came from that.
yeah, and a load of colleges in America and stuff, and I think other places around the world started pushing things like affirmative consent. And one of them was literally, you have to affirmatively and energetically give your consent every 30 seconds. Like, this is a legitimate law that was starting to be passed. Yes. Yes. It even said, like, energetically. That was part of the rule. Because otherwise, yeah, go on then. Like, that doesn't count. And you'd have to, like, presumably stop halfway through and go, no, I need more passion than that, love. This is, at this point, we're getting more oppressive by the second just to obey the law. You need like a decibel meter just to see how high if it's not over 70 decibels, it's illegal.
And you have to record it to have proof, right? So,
well, no, that would be illegal. That because you can't record it or anything. There was one guy that did record it, got falsely accused, had the proof that he was innocent on video, and the court wouldn't allow it into evidence because she didn't know about it.
Oh, man.
The jury never knew that this evidence existed that proved him innocent. It's wild.
No, well, that is a bit of a catch, because of course you shouldn't record people in intimate moments without their consent. But if it's going to be like so easy to just claim rape, when like it's like, and we're at a point where, just for the example you gave, where unless people are energetically consenting, people are equating that to rape now. Like they held someone down.
Like no means no made sense. Everyone knew what it was. It's perfectly legitimate. But you have to actually say no. The moment you go to affirmative, everything gets farcical instantaneously.
Well, people could just claim that like, I just didn't really like it. It wasn't as satisfying as I wanted. I regret now. And
basically what she did.
Seems like it.
There was a. I don't know if you
beginning of a beautiful relationship. You know.
I don't know if you ever saw the one where a woman accused the guy of beating her up, and then it turns out she left his apartment, went into a lift, an elevator, and the CCT in the elevator, and she was just punching herself in the face. And so, only reason it didn't get done, like she calls the police. The police come, and he has the video, luckily. Otherwise, that guy is screwed.
That guy would have been screwed.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Royally.
She should be in jail.
It's a hilarious video, though. This woman just walks in the elevator, starts picking herself up. It's like, what on earth is happening here?
Like, guys, you have to be so damn careful in the world. You have to be so damn careful now. It's nuts.
Well, this is why the moment he saw, like, the moment you found out there were red flags here.
You gotta ask, how bad was he that she felt like she had to beat herself up afterward?
I think he did have a story. I don't know whether he was like splitting up with her or he threw her out or something, but she was unhappy. And it was just seemed to be, I can get him in trouble, so I'm going to. It was
so
makes me crazy, man.
Yeah.
In the whole like Me Too craze, right? I was actually kind of shocked how many false allegations also came up that basically discredited it for anyone paying attention.
That was kind of my point.
But the thing is, though, the DNA of the Me Too craze, right, stuck around in the progressive woke side, and that evolved and morphed into Believe All Women. And now, it simply takes a claim, an accusation, an account that can be completely fabricated, totally made up, no evidence given, and the woke left will still destroy people's lives over it.
This is why, if you don't go to the police, I don't care. Because either it's not illegal or it didn't happen.
Right.
And if you go to the police, that's good for you because then they get investigated. And it's good for him if it didn't happen. So it's best all round. And then you have like a neutral party investigate and we see where it goes from there. It's the only way to actually get legitimacy one way or the other. And I even think that, because over here we have a rule where the accuser is not reported in the news and stuff. They're kept anonymous. And I just think that should happen to both parties until there is a result.
That is very much like the modern version of the biblical law on rape. If you're out in the field, nobody can hear you, right? But if you don't scream, then you were complicit.
Well, it's always been the thing of no
but
means no,
that's
but you
the
actually
modern
have to
thing.
say it.
The scream is going to the police, right? If you don't go to the police,
it raises that question. Now, I mean, I think we can all acknowledge that sometimes there could be a level of trauma and shock that they don't know how to respond or react, or they're afraid of, the power of the individual. And we can acknowledge that there are messy circumstances. But in terms of generally, like, guys needing to be careful. So guys, some of the things that you should learn from stuff like this is you need to keep every single receipt. You need to keep every single message chain.
Even the lube.
Even the lube.
And the receipt for the lube.
but honestly, like it gets to a point now that if you're in you just need a single party consent state where you can legally record conversations just for record in case of false accusations. You need to be covering your friggin' bases. You need to actually have evidence to exonerate yourself in all of these things.
You need to get married, not cheat on your wife.
There's good traditional wholesome marriage can work out if you don't marry crazy. I'll add that caveat because it's when things can go really bad, and so you have to be careful. Yeah, I've seen that. I gave an account of someone who I know in my own personal circle that his wife accused him of she was nuts, but still very culpable and aware of what she was doing as well. But I say nuts because of how extreme she took it. It was a bit crazy.
Yeah, insane behavior doesn't mean they're insane.
Yes. Prophet of the Jack of $10 says, I was glad to see you wait to make any commentary till Daniel said his piece. All the apology to Daniel videos that are now out there is crazy. I can't believe I'm defending Daniel Greene.
Yeah. I did watch your video when you tagged me in it on Twitter because I didn't know the situation at the time. I agreed when you're like, I can't believe they all threw him under the bus.
I can.
Oh my gosh. Nathan Cassidy for 999 says, I do believe innocent until proven guilty, especially with the sheer amount of false accusations made over the past decade. However, I also believe in karma, and it's coming for woke leftists hard. There is a bit of that, isn't there? Like, it's coming around, but still, even like in terms of the karma, it needs to be valid. It needs to be justified. If they're still innocent,
it's not. I don't. Not karma in the sense of the universe is asserting itself. What I think it is their ideology is so destructive and acidic to just being happy and leading a fulfilling life that they will just always be like permanently mental diagnosis, antidepressants,
but also
cats. They will never be happy.
And because they're so desperate to validate divergent sexual lifestyles and stuff like that, it's never going to lead to stable relationship at the home. Daniel said that his wife is giving him a free pass to have sex with men still and stuff like that. It's like, dude,
wait,
I'm sorry.
He doesn't have much of an offer if he's straight.
He's
well, if you think you can put up with it, I'll let you do it. How about that one? You're stuck out there in Vegas. You can't pull anyone. But there's one dodgy guy down the end of the road.
That reminds me of a joke. I know I'm going to share it just because it's funny. It's in context. So there's this guy. He dies and he goes to hell and he meets a devil there. The devil is this, bookkeeper. And he says, hey, welcome to hell. And he's like, oh, no, I'm in hell. This is going to suck. What's it like? And it's like, well, do you like gambling? And the guy's like, well, actually, I really like gambling. Well, oh, you're going to love Monday. Gambling as much as you want. We gamble all the time. It's like, oh, okay. And then the guy's like, do you like alcohol? Well, actually, I love alcohol. Well, you're going to love Tuesday, where you drink all day, everything like that. It's like, okay. The guy's thinking, wow, hell isn't so bad. It's like, okay, good. Are you gay? And the guy's like, no, I'm not gay. Oh, you're going to really hate Wednesday then.
my dad had a thing like that where it was like, oh well, in 1910 it was illegal. By the time you get to 1940 it's socially acceptable. By 1970 they have equal marriage. I'm leaving before it becomes compulsory.
Oh my gosh. Technically Mexican for $2 says she tried to seduce him on the third day. I think there was because you can go watch his video.
It's like the creation story. On the fourth day, she had a rest.
And she claimed that it was only because of the tattoo that Daniel, he definitely would have touched me. He would have basically forced himself on me. Is what
this tattoo was the biggest mystery. It's the one question remaining. Where is the tattoo that stops everything happening?
She got a tattoo of Trump. He's like, no.
He was like, oh. Oh.
Mind
you, then he might have had a free pass.
Axie,
You have to stare at his face during it.
For $5 says, man, the sex must have been bad if it made him go back to
This is a wake-up call for me to go to therapy.
Judah for $5 says, biblical law, adultery applied to women, infidelity applied to men. The punishment for women was harsher. Proof was required with 2 witnesses. Proof is kind of important for something serious like this. Okay.
Yeah, proof is that's just biblical law. It's 2 witnesses, pretty much.
Well, it goes into common law in the medieval period. Court systems were like the way a guilt was established was so much reliant on witness testimony, which is why the accusations of being a liar was really offensive, especially if you called someone a thief, because that's an actual disparagement against their person and character. And so like calling them, any number of like horrible things, calling them a thief or a liar was particularly offensive because, like witness testimony was so important back then.
It still is, though. Think of the sort of innate reaction that people have had to finding out that she made it all up. It was incredibly severe. And it's not like a conscious choice. You just get repulsed by it immediately. So there is something like some evolutionary thing there that drives the instinct to just despise severe lies.
Liars. And there are so many liars on the friggin' left. Like there's a clip of Vorsh basically saying that I don't care about principles. Principled failure means nothing, which means like he's willing to lie, cheat, abandon all principles just to win. They've openly admitted this.
That part of their ideology is there is no truth but power. It is the right has a similar thing of it is he who makes the exception is sovereign. It is kind of just the power ideology of the truth doesn't actually matter if you're in charge because you can make people.
Yeah, and
which
look,
I do think is true in reality. It's just, then you get onto the morality.
Yeah,
of it.
it's immoral. It's immoral and evil, and I can't stand habitual liars. I can't stand it. Beard for 50MX says, I lost my job and home to false abuse claims. Could tell she was full of it right away. Buyer's remorse. Hates DG. Don't know what DG.
Daniel Greene.
Oh, Daniel Greene. Yeah, yep. But it was obvious crap from 1 minute in. Yeah, there were like I said, like there were red flags right from the get-go in so much of that. Thanks, Beard. And what happened to you? Friggin' sucks. I'm bloody friggin' outraged about this crap. So many guys get their lives ruined and no one knows about it. It's just brushed under the rug. Like
well, it's one of those things where we may have the thing of I would rather 10 guilty men get away with it than 1 innocent man be punished, but that's not how it actually works for men because they're seen as the sacrificial people. So it is more, I would rather all of them get guilty and they're sacrificed and it doesn't matter to protect the woman who's more valuable. Which again, I think is an evolutionary thing. It's just, you would hope that you could move.
But what you're saying there seems that played out with Daniel Greene. It was just shocking how many people were just so ready to throw him under the bus at the mere suggestion of an accusation that was full of holes from the get-go from an unhinged woman who's just like completely malicious, right? Didn't take much. And that's that people have an instinct to protect. I have that instinct to protect women, but I've seen enough cases of the past of false accusations to me to, all right, we need to slow down and wait for bloody evidence, okay? Because I think you're right. I think there's probably an evolutionary component to this, right?
Well, it's the same with women and children first. At first, in things, a man will jump in front of a bullet. He'll jump into a burning house. You do wonder, the longer that time period is, and he has to think, he'll probably override that programming. It's like, I don't even know this, but I'm not jumping into a fire. What do you mean? But his immediate reaction will be just go in before he thinks about it. And
that is such a profoundly
that's a nice fantasy world, but most people are just cowards.
I think the Titanic proved different when that is the perfect situation, and it was women and children on the raft. The men could have overpowered those women whenever they wanted.
Yeah. I think men don't give enough credit for that noble instinct to protect, people weaker than them.
I've just been in situations where just Everyone.
Yeah, there's dirtbag guys that, yeah.
100%, but I think that modern society is also, it's kind of destroyed because it used to be an exchange. It was like, we will protect you, but you will also behave a certain way. Once they stop behaving a certain way, well, now there's no need to protect them. Like, you would protect them because it was a woman that would have kids and a family, and it's like, well, if they stop having that, then there's no real reason for the men to guard them. Well, you're not contributing.
Society has been actively telling men that women can protect themselves, and you're a misogynist if you're going to actually act like they're weak and vulnerable and they need protection. And then on top of that, when guys have stepped up to try and protect other people, they've been punished for it. I can sent to jail.
That as well, yeah, like the subway guy in New York.
The subway guy, yes, yeah, exactly, where he restrained this guy that was acting completely violently and unhinged and stuff, and he choked him out and he ended up dying, but he was literally trying to protect other people for it. He got raked through the coals. He was eventually found innocent, wasn't he? In the
It was a toss-up. Nobody knew. Even though it was a clean-cut case, nobody knew.
It was so obvious.
That speaks to my point. How many of the other people on that train didn't do anything?
Oh yeah, but I think there's an element of how highly respected the people you're trying to protect are, and I think that as a society that they would have been more respected in sort of the 1940s than today.
Well, also,
so now we were like, well, you're just not worth it. So
no. I think the instinct to do it was far more pronounced and prominent in the past than the modern day. The modern day has been actively trying to teach men to stop doing it, and the society is getting worse as a result.
Yeah, that's right. Because it's kind of been drilled in our heads. If you hurt somebody in the defense of somebody else, you're the one that's going to go to jail.
Yeah,
it's like that does click into some people's heads. It's like, well, gosh, if I save that person from this person,
exactly,
I'm going to get arrested.
And
which is what happened to him, right?
That's also what I mean about your initial instinct is to do something, but then the longer it is, your brain can overpower the instinct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I still try and hold on to those more noble principles. Be the guy that stands up and steps in to try and protect the innocent. That role is
for me. It depends who it is.
I guess there's that aspect.
If you're a random person in the street, nah. You actually have to matter, and then for me to actually put myself in that risk.
But sometimes you can try and judge it.
Yeah, if it's a man, like, bro, stand up for yourself. If it's a woman, you step in.
Yeah, there's been a lot of research on that where they had what looks like a domestic dispute between two people, and when it's the woman attacking the man, people are laughing, and when it's the other way around, immediately step in.
Yes, yeah, I've seen those things. Like there was this thing where they tested that where a woman was hitting a guy on a park bench and yelling at him, and a lady walked past and was doing, yeah, you go get him, and she was cheering her on.
Yeah.
And she was physically assaulting the guy. Tanya Spencer for $4.99 says, in her apology video, she never apologized to Daniel Greene, only to sexual assault survivors.
That's what I thought.
I think she mentioned Daniel once. I remember her mentioning
it was so in passing.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry to his wife and Daniel. Everybody else I heard.
Blink and you miss it. And she never just comes out and says, I lied, even though it's clear that she's admitting she is, but she doesn't just say it. And then there's those things like, I never actually said he raped me kind of stuff. It was like, you implied it so heavily. So she was actually trying to deflect it as well. Like that video was bull crap, right?
I never crossed the legal lines that would get me into libelous trouble.
Dark Meat Collins for $9.99 says, if you need proof adultery is not healthy, this story right here is proof. By the way, reasons for my username is because I'm black and my last name is Collins. I also like meat. Your content, Chad.
I'm glad that third bit was there.
Yeah, thanks, Collins. We appreciate you. Yeah, I don't think I finished just that point that I was saying that because the more progressive side, they're so desperate to validate sexual deviant lifestyles and stuff like that. Like, this stuff doesn't lead to stable home lives. And the fact that, again, Daniel mentioned that I have a free pass now to have gay sex with other men, it was like, that is going to lead to destroying your marriage, Daniel. Really.
The other part of it is,
because guess what? That is still friggin' infidelity. Even if your wife is saying it's okay, it's still infidelity.
And there's something wrong with her, because most women, when they hear that a dude does it with other dudes, they're instantly turned off.
Yeah, and that's almost like saying I must allow you to indulge your sexual attractions because you just like, okay, what's going to happen then if he gets really attracted to another woman? Is like, I already have a pass to indulge in some sexual.
Well, they can apparently the way they were talking about it, you can literally just identify and it's fine.
Yeah, like if there's a woman that identifies with a man,
apparently they were saying that's a grey area. So we found a loophole, folks.
Yeah. Look, honey, could you just identify as a man for the next 3 hours?
Because it's fine. You see, I'm gay. And you're like, what? This is why they have so many rules, because normally it would just be your husband and wife, and you'd discuss this between yourselves, and everything would kind of just be body language because you know each other well, so you wouldn't need to formalize it. It's like with English culture, it's a high context thing, so everyone knows all the rules anyway. But when other people come in, now you need the law to make those rules because they don't know it implicitly. So the moment you get to it from a settled relationship where it's all kind of just made up by yourself to we can do it with anybody. Now you need a whole stack of rules. Now you need the legal system to inform consent and everything else, because you're in the Wild West where there's no common language or definitions or boundaries that everyone else knows.
Was it England where the health services did that "Don't Rape Me" dance for the Muslim immigrants?
I think that was Sweden or one of your Norwegian countries, something like that. It's
brilliant.
Yeah. Well, that's because this is what I mean when people aren't evil, they just don't understand. That's that attitude. Well, if we just tell them, obviously they'll be reasonable.
Have you seen that interview where there's this reporter on the street interviewing some black guys from Sudan or somewhere, right? Trying to talk to them about like how rape is bad. And it's like, you do understand that the woman is going to feel bad about it. And like, well, no, because STDs are
they couldn't comprehend somebody else's.
They could not comprehend the woman's trauma in getting raped.
Because they can't think of another brain. It is essentially they can only see the world from their perspective. The other people having a different perspective is literally impossible to consider. And the longer I've gone on looking at things, and I think a lot of people are this way, and nobody really knows because nobody really thinks about it. But once you bear that in mind, talking to people, you're like, oh, you're one of them. And I think this is part of the reason Hollywood can't do anything, because
it can't empathize.
Oh, well, you're all racist and sexist. Well, it's because they hired the people for those reasons, so they assume you don't like the movie for the same reasons, because they can't comprehend a different point of view than themselves.
Look, I think you might have a point there, because it's shocking how they just caricature so many people into this bullcrap image of what they have, and they can't actually understand why they hold the opinions on the right, why they're conservatives and stuff. And it's crazy. Dark Meat Collins for 199 says, at least Selena Gomez had tears in her eyes.
It was particularly poor acting for somebody that seems to be doing it all their life.
Right. Dark Meat Collins again for 199 says, should women be charged for false sexual assault charges? Hell yes, they should.
Yes.
100%. Madison for $5 says, anyone who lies about this sort of thing should get what they accused would have gotten if they were found guilty. Man or woman, I don't care. I kind of agree with that. Yeah, I kind of agree with that.
The most severe thing would be they get subjected to what they accused you of.
And then they get put in the male prison.
Jacob Miller for a big 50. Dude, thank you very much. He says, I finally got to catch your live streams. I really like your book, and I hope you can keep working on that world and story. Legend. Thank you so much, mate. I do intend to come back to that world and story later in the future. I'm currently working on a different world and story actively. Yesterday, I had like a 9 or 10 hour writing session. Oh, it feels good. Wrote 2 chapters. The book is pushing forward. And man.
It amazes me that you can do like 9 and 10 hours. Just concentrating for that long is
well, it is actually it's a crazy experience. I don't know if I've reached a new state, kind of like a breakthrough, but I had a 12-hour writing.
You're reaching the Brandon Sanderson fugue state.
I'm not kidding. It's like I enter into.
It's like the anime scene where he unlocks the new powers.
It's like no joke. Like lately, when I've gotten in the zone, it's like time disappears. I'm not kidding. I forget that the world around me, I can't barely see and notice, and I'm literally just in the story. And then before I realize it, oh, that was 12 hours.
And is it
Yeah,
enjoyable?
I
Because
would do that. I
Dude,
would just draw until like
it's
my hands started shaking because I just forgot to eat for so long.
dude. Yesterday, after I finished it, it was like I was on a high. I'm not kidding. Like the amount of just existing in this state of unfiltered creation in this other world, it actually feels friggin' amazing. That's like I've never experienced it this level until like this year as I've been doing it. I wrote my other novel and everything like that, and I still had like the buzz. I would get in the zone, but the longest I could ever do was like 6 hours at most, and usually my writing session is like 4 hours. But man, yeah, I 12-hour writing session, 11-hour writing session. Yesterday was like a 9-hour writing session, and it's just it's a buzz. It's so
the reason
cool.
I ask is because when Brandon says like didn't fly everywhere and he popped out an extra 5 books, it was and he didn't even necessarily intend to publish them. He left it up to his wife. It was it showed that he got something out of it separately. It wasn't right. It wasn't work. It was something that he felt the need to do.
Dude, I want to do it today. I want to write like today and get in that high again. It feels friggin' amazing. It's like this creation state, and so yeah, it's pretty cool. So just let you know, Jacob. Yeah, I'm working on my next book, and I'm having a friggin' great time with it. It's exciting, actually. But my issue is I don't get enough days to be able to do it. I didn't get to work on it last. I only got a little moment to work on it last week, and stuff. And so if I could restructure my life, but we'll see. I'd like to do it a lot more. Madison $5 says, notice how she phrased her apology. Yeah, apology. She's not even sorry she tried to ruin someone's life. She's sorry she got caught and called out. It seems a bit like that, doesn't it?
It was, I'm sorry you feel this way, apology.
Yeah. I'm sorry that, I set, actual survivors back, but not for ruining his life. Like, she barely even mentions him. Dark Meat Collins 199 says her apology is like her coat. Okay, her coat was not nice. Wolf Spain for $2 says, I'm devastated that I got caught in my lies. Seems like that. Josh Kelsey drops the $10 on the table and walks out. Thank you, sir, for the donation. Mason Ball for $10 says, had an ex-wife who made allegations like this to my now wife to scare her away. This type of evil garbage was like that infuriates me, man. And I'd like women can be just as evil as men, but in a lot of ways, the way they go about it can be vastly more devastating. When a guy has an issue with another guy, usually it's just a punch in the friggin' face or something like that. And
that's very well researched. Men will punch you in the face. Women engage in social destruction.
Social destruction that can ruin people's lives. Okay. Beard for 50MX says, Daniel Greene is a raging POS who lies to keep his access. He didn't do this, and it was obvious from minute one later into her video. He wasn't. He didn't do the sexual assault. It seemed like that was pretty clear.
Yeah, and that's the thing with him. It's like I like his videos.
I think he can do a good
his
job.
Belief system, but he's just make good videos.
He actually is one of the best reviews of my novel. I got to give him credit for that, right? And he has been able to do.
I didn't know he'd
really
reviewed your
work.
novel.
Yeah, back in the day, Shad the Conqueror, and it's one of the better reviews, honestly. And in actual fact, he did a follow-up, like rating like books that I think differently on after time has passed. And he even said that he liked it even more now than the past.
I was wondering which way that was going to swing.
No, but that was before I became too problematic. Now, because then since that time, this is funny, right? Nice. He was doing a rating list of all the books he reviewed in like the last several years or something like that. And my book comes up again. And this is when it was more recently. And so all the bullcrap reviews have been coming out and stuff like that. And he says, I just can't remember the book, so I'm going to put it in can't remember because he didn't want to. It seemed pretty clear he didn't want to give me any positive, mention. He felt blown back.
Yeah, he couldn't suddenly turn his opinion after saying it was better over time. Yeah.
Yep. We lost Mike. Maybe he'll come back. But yeah, it seemed like because if he just flipped on it, that's a dig on his own credibility. but he didn't want to validate it because of the blowback of his audience that probably hates me. So I was like, I can't remember it now. But that's because, so there's some evidence of Daniel very capable of being pretty disingenuous. Okay.
But
He's
that's
afraid of his
another
audience.
difference when I said, you've been courting these people and they will crucify you for anything. That is the difference. Like, if I came out and liked Captain America, there'd be a load of people going, I didn't like it. But they're not going to stop watching my channel or anything. I don't need to be scared of the people viewing me to suddenly crucify me for liking a movie that they don't, or vice versa.
Literally, my Captain America review is probably the most least critical review of Captain America 4 from our side of the, fellowship. And I even said it was barely above average, which, look, my opinions are evolving on that. I think it's pretty bad. So I would say the parts that I was able to like in it are barely above average, but it's a bad film overall. But even then, like, people like our side, I'm not written off like I'm completely not credible or anything like that.
And most of my Willow stuff is, this is bad, but I do like it. I had a good time.
Yeah, I know, right? Mike said he has a bad connection, so if his internet restores, he'll be back. Madison $5 says, it's weird that leftists jump on some people, even on their side, but then other people, they go out of their way to defend, like Neil. There is a bit of that, and only until enough allegations actually comes out that they can't deny, that's when they're like, oh, now we'll all throw them under the bus. How many of them protected Harvey Weinstein for how many friggin' years? The bloody hypocrites, right?
They have a strong friend-enemy distinction where they reward their friends, penalize their enemies, but it tends to be how useful they are. So if they think that you still have something you can provide them, some kind of benefit, they'll stand by you. The moment they think that it's it for them and they can't get anything, they'll throw under the bus. So,
100%. And it goes to show that most of these people are not actually principled people at all. Like, if they were,
Harvey Weinstein double standards, because then otherwise they wouldn't have any standards at all.
Yep, it's disgusting. But yeah, Madison, good. Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Very good point. Justin LW 2001 for $10 says, first time catching a live show, was expecting more a show about metal swords than flesh. Are Aussie Mormons as polite as American Mormons? For the most part, I think Aussies by nature have a slightly more abrasive personality, where we're a bit more blunt. And
there more C-bombs.
Yeah, not
like a good Aussie.
Not C-bombs, but I do say things that American Mormons think are a bit too, like, damn in hell. That's just fair game here, and that would be a bit too, if American Mormons. And there is some cultural differences between Australian and American Mormons, mostly similarities, but it is some of the differences. And one of the things that this is not universal, but there's this thing called a Molly Mormon, which is, because, especially in Utah,
I just thought Molotov cocktail Mormons.
No. So Molly Mormon refers to someone who was raised in the church, but hasn't really been tested or has a strong testimony in the belief system, and therefore doesn't really follow it devoutly. And they're a bit wishy-washy in terms of Sabbath day observance, even War of Chastity and other things like that. And they're more commonly coming out of the cultural upbringing in Utah, where it's more of a cultural thing broadly across, where there's much fewer Molly Mormons in Australia, where there's not a cultural thing. I was one of the only,
is that different from a Jack Mormon?
Yeah, it's about the same. It's about the same as a Jack Mormon. It's like about the same thing, where it's just kind of cultural. They don't really believe you. They're not following it.
Just in America, we call him Jack.
Yeah, I'm surprised that was that way around. I would have thought Australia would have more kind of lax stuff. Because whenever I think of like sort of the religions in America, like you've got the Amish and everything, they seem to have really kind of extreme thing. Like the Amish, they don't use technology and stuff. It's quite extreme compared to modern day living. Whereas Australia, they just drink all the time. I would have thought they'd be very kind of, I'm a Mormon, that's what I expect.
I know, right? It's more of the fact, to be a Mormon in a culture like Australia, you have to be pretty solid in your convictions. Otherwise, you end up falling away and just going along with the culture. And so there's a bit more testing. Because like I said, I was one of the only members of my church in my high school. And I literally had other people in school trying to give me money to swear, because they were so baffled by the fact that I don't swear. That was so culturally out of the ordinary. They were like, I will give you, they put out money, $5 if you say the F word. And by the way, I did not, because I'm principled, and you get tested by that.
So you walk into a chair. The moment you like stub your toe on a table, that's it.
Oh, well, I have colorful language that's still not swearing, but sometimes it comes out like, friggin' piece of crap, bloody hell. You know, like I get, and that's probably more than what other, you know, American ones. But that's what I say. Most of like the devout members in, well, that's going to say, hey, a lot of the members in Utah are actually very devout and strong, but there is that kind of cultural thing that has come out. And
you know, it's
got
funny
me on a thing.
On the cultural swearing thing. It's really weird in California. Like solid born again Christian Protestants generally don't swear either, but you go out like to the South, it's weird. It's like totally acceptable for Christians out there to swear. It's like, I don't understand this. It's just states away, you know, but it's like in California, it's like none of my kids swear. I don't swear.
Yeah.
Nobody at my church that I know of swears. It's like,
well, it's funny. Do you know there was an apostle in the Mormon church who did swear? And he was kind of famous for it because he would say damn and hell. And swearing is an interesting topic because it's completely culturally established what is inappropriate. And it's not like written in the immutable laws of heaven that this word shall not be said.
Can you imagine? That would be the best page in the Bible ever. Thou shalt not say.
This was written by George Carlin.
There in a big list. I'd be like you'd pin that up on your wall.
Yeah, but because it's a cultural thing, I actually see very little inherent sinful nature to swearing, apart from just trying to speak in a way that doesn't offend people, and that's just being nice to people around you. But if there's a different culture or stuff like that, or someone was raised differently, or a member of my church drops one, I don't get this is coming from someone who doesn't swear, and I've come across members that say words that I don't, but it's like, you know, it's not I don't see it as this grave sin or anything.
I just thought of like you're in Sunday school and there's the priest there standing there and he's going through the Bible and everyone's like, hey up, we know what page is coming up next. And he's like, thou shalt not say, and he just reads them all out one after another.
I shall not say the N-word. I shall not say
the best day of any religious education ever. Mark that one in your calendar, kids.
Alrighty, Beard for 50 MX says, wait till we get closer to the end disc. It goes full mask off, order of progress.
That's what I'm assuming. Yes, because there's little hints, but what I've seen so far doesn't warrant the reaction that I've seen some people have. So, yeah, I think I'm about halfway through at the moment.
Okay, that's talking about, Stormlight Archives 5.
Yes.
Specifically.
Yeah,
I've heard mixed things. And I understand if it's too much for people. And honestly, a lot of the woke stuff that people have mentioned has soured me on wanting to read it, but not writing off Brandon as an author I wouldn't be interested in. And look, my prediction is that I think this is as far as it's ever going to go. I think he won't push it. Oh, really? Up. Yeah, that's my prediction. And I think he's actually going to probably tone it down a bit in his future books. That's what I reckon.
Oh, sorry. No, when you said that, I thought you meant he's going to end the series here.
No. I'm talking about pushing more progressive woke kind of themes in his writing.
It is interesting with
the next
what
book
happened
takes
in American
place in
stuff.
San Francisco.
It's Portland.
Yeah.
The way it is interesting with the kind of the change of atmosphere that maybe he was feeling threatened or like he had to go this way, and then when you see that actually society can go the other way, it doesn't have to keep going this way. If that's if that leans more to where he'd want to be naturally in the first place, it's like, well, I don't feel the need to anymore.
What it actually is more, because he's spoken about this quite a bit, the way he writes. He writes to try and understand people of different lifestyles better because he has trouble connecting with people on an emotional level.
So he's like exploring an idea in his book.
Exactly.
That's an interesting way of thinking about it.
If you watch his video, Falling Snow or something like that, he has a video talking about he calls it his own neurodivergency. He's very PC in his language, but he does have this thing where he's said multiple times where he doesn't get overly emotional or like in positive or negative. He has like his emotions are much more like muted, and as a result, he has a bit of trouble kind of connecting with people, but he has this remarkable thing that like he barely ever cries. But when writing about someone's experience or reading about someone's experience in this fantasy world, he can actually emotionally connect with them, and he ends up crying. And he's a guy that just can't cry, but he can when writing and exploring people's worldviews and lives. And so, for instance, have you noticed that Emperor's Soul is like this weird one-off styled book, and he hasn't written another book of the style Emperor's Soul since, is because he was specifically wanting to explore a concept and a character, right? And that's how he kind of understands people better, and then he moves on from it after he does the exploration. And so this was him wanting to try, because he has people in his life that are LGBT, gay, and trans, and he did it to try and understand the people in his lives better by trying to write their worldview and get them to explain and stuff. And that's what, like, if he's going to be running along his normal pattern of behavior, that's the time where he chose to explore it, and is just going to be back to normal Brandon in his next books.
It's an interesting way to think, because I have something like that where something will happen in a stream, or you're talking about something, or you try and describe something, and it's all live. You're kind of thinking it out as you go, and you're like, no, that's not right as such. But then when you do it in a video, you can kind of arrange all your thoughts more accurately, put them together, and then that becomes sort of a formed, solid opinion that you can use in the future.
Yes.
So I kind of get he's exploring things that way. I mean, most people would just drink, and then they'd be like, I understand everything now.
Yes.
But yeah, you want to feel emotions, just drink. They'll fly at you.
And he's explained this in his videos. It was something about like falling snow or something like that, where he opens up about his mental, challenges. And it's literally the way he connects with people and understands people, because he has trouble doing it in normal things. And so, yeah, it's a very interesting. But that's my prediction. Maybe I'll be wrong. You can call me out if we're wrong, but I have a feeling I'm right on that one. So
can I answer Joshua Thomas real quick? Because I've been working with George since the early 2000s on a number of different projects.
Okay. I don't know the context, but we do need to get the super chat.
He said Brandon has George R. Martin's phone number, and I said I have his phone number. He's like, why? I'm like, you see the book behind
with
Dad?
It. Yeah.
You just show him the Hedge Knight.
I have it to the side here, I think. Yeah,
this is the reason Shad and I know each other.
Yeah, funnily enough. I've always got it out.
See, this is why I couldn't have his number, because I just text him every day going, finish your pissing book.
Yeah. So this is the Hedge Knight. Mike is the artist for the Hedge Knight, and it collabed directly with George R. on its adaptation. So,
yeah, and one of my fans contacted me and told me Shad had that up on his bookshelf. And so
because I freaking love it. It's bloody great. Loved Mike's art in it, and that is how we got associated and connected.
That's right.
Jay Fraser 360 for €5, I think, or pounds. I get them mixed up. Hey, Shad, recommend Prophet of the Dragon, White Cloaks to be guests for the Culture Crusade when you want to discuss Wind and Truth and Wheel of Time Prime. That is a good idea. I'm going to keep it on the list. I like the guys. I think they're great. And the White Cloaks, they're the remnants of the Reddit group, the White Cloaks, which is the only Reddit group that was willing to be critical. The amount of protection that the Wheel of Time TV show got online to try and suppress criticism was insane. And White Cloak Reddit group was the only people who was kind of outspoken about it, apart from like what
I mean, since then, more things have come out to explain why, though. That basically all the mods on the top 500 or 1,000 Reddits are the same people. And so it's and then the admins of Reddit agree with them anyway, and so they've just created the entire website to be that way. When they've just banned Twitter links and everything, but they're allowed Blue Sky, and then I think they banned Facebook and other ones and other Reddits and stuff because we're losing control of these as well. So
I was banned off of like comic art, and I'm like, a professional comic book artist.
You're a very prominent professional comic book artist. In case
at
people
this
don't
point,
know,
if you're still allowed on Reddit, you basically don't have any sensible opinions. It's like...
But Mike's the artist for the Injustice series. It's one of your most prominent works, and you did a great job on it. It's like,
thank you.
People, good stuff.
I'm still allowed on that Reddit, but nobody goes there. So,
Alex for $9.99 says, Daniel Greene obviously has never seen the crazy hot Matrix. He should have known that a chick with this level of, I wouldn't go that far. I don't think she's hot. But the tattoos should be a red flag.
I think that's because you know what she's like.
No, but that's
she's average.
The crazy hot Matrix is she has to be this hot to be this crazy. But this chick's clearly way crazier than she is hot. So
Well, yeah, but that's what he means. If he'd seen that, he would have known not to mess with her because she's not hot enough for that level of crazy.
Exactly.
But you could be a 2 and that level of crazy. So.
Yeah. And I continue. And this level of crazy must be avoided at all costs. I think you could pick out the craziness. Like the tattoos, she looks like a mess that can barely string together, certain
if someone's coming on to you and you go, I can't, I've got a wife, but she lets me go with men, and her response is, well, I'm non-binary. That's all you need, folks. That's it right there.
Oh my gosh. Alex for $9.99 also, WTF is a friend trip. I know, right? She says the Vegas trip was just a friend trip. What man is in a relationship is going to meet another woman just as friends in Vegas? Let me add to that.
To spoil her.
To spoil her, yep. She thinks we're stupid, lol. Yeah.
There was one description where apparently she was lying there with nothing on, and he was getting money that he pulled out of the ATM and covering her in it.
Oh,
it really seems like she does say she's a sugar baby. There may have been elements of that there.
Gosh, yeah. But she didn't encourage him, guys. She didn't try and encourage him to doing the dirty. It was all him fleshing her.
The only
and
time
she was half asleep and drugged.
The only time I would even have considered anything like that is in Breaking Bad, where he's got that entire massive stack of cash in a storage unit, and they start lying on it, and you're like, okay, that'd be cool. But apart from that,
yeah, you know how dirty money is.
Yes. You might get high just by lying on it.
Filthy lucre.
Beard for 50MX says, we live in an age where they put the red flags in their bios. It's actually easier to date now. Yeah, just avoid the crazies. You can point them out pretty easily.
But the craziers are all on their side. She probably had the blue bracelet and the what were the other things they were doing to prove they weren't going to vote for, weren't supporting Trump. The blue bracelet, shaving their heads.
Oh yeah, so they all knew they were safe with each other.
Yeah.
Justin LW for 2001 $5 says, thank you, Disparu, for answering my ex-DMs about the last crappy Star Trek about throwing shade against USA and kicking the MacGuffin with red, white, blue.
I do remember those. Yeah, it was. I still don't know whether that was there, but yeah, and apparently the device that she has that's supposed to blow everything up, the lights around them were in red, white, and blue as they counted along, which is weird choice for a countdown timer.
But there you go. Thanks, Justin and Disparu. Yeah, Disparu's a good egg. He follows up with stuff. Kevin Malone for $10 says, Shad, I posted a few messages to you on Subscribestar about a band I wanted you to see, and I just wanted to bring it to your attention to them in case you hadn't seen them. No need to respond to them. Cheers, man. And no, I haven't seen it. Unfortunately, I don't get to every message on Subscribestar and things, but now that's on my radar, I'll check it out. I appreciate you, dude, and thank you for the super chat and your support on Subscribestar. Absolutely legend. Take a 610 for $5 says, Trollocs have more empathy and loyalty to each other than leftists do. Remember Jim Carrey in Liar Liar? What does it look like? I'm kicking my ass. What does it look like? I'm kicking my ass.
There's plenty of research. One of them is the locus of control thing, like who they care about. Conservatives care more about people close to them. They say they care about everything, including inanimate objects on the other side of the universe, the exact same amount. Well, you're just lying. Nobody can even conceptualize that, let alone actually care about them. And it's just because they want to be seen as virtuous. They are social signalers. So the person that cares the most is deemed to be the highest status. So it's all fake, and it's basically self-interest. They are far more manipulative, far more selfish. I'm not even sure they can if you can't conceptualize another person, how could you reason why you should be loyal to that person? Only you exist. You are the main character.
They're the center. Yeah, they're the center of the world. It's all about how they are seen in others. It's about their own virtue instead of actually, I wonder how many of these people actually do good and don't tell anyone about,
Yeah, it's all driven by envy and climbing the social ladder, essentially. This is why whenever a Hollywood actor goes, I think we need more women directors, there's always a woman that wants to direct.
Isn't that interesting?
Anybody go, I think we need more of this, and they're not that group.
What about those people that advocate, we need to give our privileged positions in universities to people who are underrepresented and stuff like that. And they say, oh, okay, well, we have a sign here where you can give up your position at this university right now. And they're like, no, I can't do that. But someone else should. That's crazy.
Look at the guy about Snow White,
videos
where
of
it's like, we can't have dwarfs.
When they're offering illegal immigrants to come stay at their house, and they're asking these people, and they're just hiding their faces.
Oh no, the consequences of my actions.
I will proclaim people to do virtuous things, but I will not do it myself because that actually takes me having conviction for what I'm saying. Oh my gosh. Taylor Ramirez for $2 says Daniel committed the sin of sticking his D in crazy. Yes, he did.
Well, I don't think he actually did. I'm not.
Oh, actually, you're right. You're right. I don't think he did. They just did other hate.
Wow, all that for nothing?
Yeah. Over the 3 days.
Well, hang on. No, wait. He did. It was just a different hole.
Oh, no. Okay, if you want to take it like that, yeah.
Yeah. So there we go.
He hummed along.
Justin LW 2001 for $10 says Vorsh literally made a sign Me Too video and backtracked when a woman was saying an immigrant's Winesfielded her. He's talking about the Sydney Watson specifically. It was made into a Curb Your Enthusiasm parody because he's full of crap, still sad. Yeah. He was like, oh, believe all women. And then Sydney Watson shared her sexual assault experience and he didn't believe her. Completely backtrack on that, hypocrite.
One thing about Vosh is he has said multiple times that, he cares more about winning than the truth.
Yeah.
There is no truth or power. So that is the thing about Vosh. He has just told everybody exactly what he's like. So
he doesn't have any.
You can't really. I think this is why he gets away with it. When his adult folder leaked and there was a horse there, I think he got away because everybody knew anyway. He just tells people.
But not only that, I think he's attracted enough people that agree with him that it's all about winning. And they don't care about principles. It's just pushing the ideology. They're a comrade, and that's what matters.
Yeah, well, this is the thing, though. I think as a general, if people already know things about you and they still watch you, they've accepted that. And so when it comes out, like, yeah, I already knew. I don't care. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. Whereas what they really despise is if you pretend to be something else and then they find out you're breaking it. And they're like, you're not the person I thought you were.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody hates a hypocrite.
Oliver Lavery Farage for €5 or pounds. I get
pounds.
Pounds.
Proper money.
Proper money. This brewery has the best quote of the week. That woman has more red flags than all of China.
Yeah.
That's great.
I've used it several times.
Yeah.
Real Me Never to Be Seen for $5 says there was also a case where a woman tried to sue a man for performing life-saving CPR on her because he touched her without her permission. Holy crap.
It is the Snow White argument that they are actually making about the movie in real life.
This guy has to kiss me to save me from an eternal sleep of death, but he kissed me without consent, the bastard.
Did you see the, I think it's the Babylon Bee did a parody about that? And there's just a woman lying there, and he goes along, he's like, do you consent, madam? Madam, I'm gonna need you to reply, do you consent to this? And she doesn't go, he's like, well, nothing I can do then. And he starts walking around and he goes past like princess after princess. He's like, there are a lot of magically encased women around these parts, aren't there? Oh well. And it just walks off. If only there was someone that could save these people.
But literally, there's a real world case of basically that. It's just like, it's not a parody anymore. We are living in clown world.
There's loads of stuff like that. I've seen people be saved by CPR and then they get sued for breaking a rib. It's like, well, he also saved your life. Like, yeah, but he damaged me.
They used. I knew an EMT once. He said they used to do that to the rookies, where they would make the rookies do the CPR when they got a call to like some 80-year-old woman who needed CPR. They'd make the rookies do it because it would freak them out when their ribs broke when they were doing the CPR.
Yeah.
And you need to be forceful at times.
Yeah.
Nicholas Christian for $10 says, I doubt it, but hope Daniel learns a lesson.
To learn a lesson, you have to accurately identify the problem. And I don't think he will.
The intensely progressive audience is built, and the championed can and will weaponize empathy as it suits them. Time to grow up, Daniel Greene. Hope this is what does it. I don't know, because I think it's going to still go after that audience, and I think is also aware if he transgresses one thing in the woke orthodoxy, he's done, and he's afraid of his audience.
There are lots of kind of people, especially if they've tried to come across the aisle, where they go, I was over that side and I was permanently petrified. I was constantly thinking about what I was saying, always on guard, walking on eggshells. It's like, I don't feel that way. When I make a video, I don't feel that way. I just publish it and hope people watch, but I'm not scared of the response in any way. And this is why, I think it was Hassan was saying streaming for him is exhausting. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why. I think he constantly has to think through in his head, I can't offend these people, I can't say this, I need to obey all of these rules. And I think that would be exhausting than just being honest.
I couldn't imagine. But I think to that point, he already did break a cardinal rule of the left. He didn't believe the woman that was accusing him.
Can you? It's like, look, I don't think anything happened, but she did say it.
I tell you, if Daniel ever jumps on a cancel train for someone being accused, right?
Yes.
Without proof, holy crap, is that going to be a bad look on him?
It would be good. It's a shame she's deleted the video, because it would be good to have a screenshot of her video apologizing. That if he does it, you just post it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what?
Mm-hmm. Octocon for $5 says he cultivated this type of crowd. He chose to cheat. He chose to go on that friend trip with a liar. Yeah, and look, there's no excuse for him cheating on his girlfriend, but he seems to be trying to have made amends for it. But the thing is that the fact that they now have a kind of open relationship where he has a free pass, I would like, that does not sound now honestly, that does not sound like a proper penitent person for cheating if he has a free pass to cheat, essentially. And I don't consider that his fiance allowing him is like, that's not cheating. I
had the same thing with because I remember when Dr. Disrespect came out cheating on his wife. I think he's done it multiple times. There's been multiple others. I just consider that between them and the partner. I don't really.
Yeah, look, there is a bit of like. There is a bit of separate art from artist and thing, because I still think, even though there's stuff I really disapprove of, like his lifestyle, I think he's capable of making a very solid review. All right, I still think he can make good content, and I wouldn't actually begrudge people from still choosing to watch his content. I wouldn't actually begrudge people for saying, I don't find him enough of a decent person to want to either bother watching. To each their own, basically. But in terms of him exonerating himself from severe sexual assault claims, seems like he's done that. And Madison for $2 says this Acolyte review was people were comparing Naomi's panic attack to Acolyte level acting. Octocon for $2 says
she did way better acting than anyone in the Acolyte. So.
She did, not ironically.
It's far more believable.
A lot more people believed her than the Acolyte stuff. Octocon for $2 says, you inspired me to write my novel. I'm almost done. That is friggin' awesome, Octocon. Legend. And you're right, because you enjoyed it. And look, if I could have any small part in helping you in that, that is actually really brilliant. Madison for $2 says, Utah Mormons are annoying. A Utah Mormon. From a Utah Mormon. Okay, occasionally. But I have friends that are also Utah Mormons that are legends. Love them. Rated M for $4.99 says, have any of you read Hard Magic by Larry Correia or Dresden Files? Read some of the Dresden Files, really liked it. Very worthwhile. Please check out the audio version, story, narration, excellence. First couple of books of the Dresden Files. I liked them, really did. Wasn't like the best thing, and I guess time just never just got in the way to the point where I didn't finish off, but the first several books really enjoyed.
People have recommended them to me, and I think I all forgot about them until I saw the name. I was like, oh yeah, I remember someone saying I should read those.
There's some funny stuff. He has like a disembodied soul in a skull that's really horny. or he wants to possess people and do dirty. It's just, there's just some quirky things in it.
There was an interesting, I can't remember what the book's called. It was essentially this woman, her uncle dies or something, and she goes and gets his whatever it's called, like estate. It turns out he's massively powerful, but then it turns out he also hunted demons and stuff, and so she kind of takes over the family business to complete his last mission that got him killed. And so I think there's 3 books, and by the end of it, you're in an entirely different series. That was a good. I can't remember what it's called though.
Okay, that does sound cool.
Yeah.
I think the author said he has designed the books so that you read them twice, so that you pick up everything the second time about how you got to the end. It's really cool.
Cool. Pete for $2 says, read the dang book. His ghostwriters made it woke. I might get like it's very likely that I'll get to read. I believe this is about Stormlight Isles 4. As to ghostwriters, I've heard people
I think he means sensitivity readers, presumably, rather than ghostwriters.
Maybe. Look, Brandon does listen to feedback, though. I was a consultant on Stormlight Archives 4, and he adopted a decent amount of the feedback I gave. He even put in like a line I suggested, and so he will listen to feedback. But that's not to take away credit of him as a writer by any means. If someone suggests something, and you as a writer think, I actually kind of agree with that personally, that I want that in my book, that is them making the decision, not someone writing it for them. Xavier Savior Hart for $20. He says, g'day all. I'm nearly 20 and still don't have a license. However, I shall devote time to getting it. In the next 4 months, I am to transform into the man I want to be, a legend. And I will tell all of my efforts in due time. Hail to you all. Hail to you, Xavier. Legend, man. And yeah, that's such a great goal. Transform and work on becoming the man that you want to be. And that's a act of self-discipline and intention you have to make that decision for yourself, but it is a path of greater satisfaction and happiness in life. Absolutely. And Madison for $2 says the left's lack of principles, why they got ahead is because the left's lack of principles. I actually don't think that. I think they got ahead by manipulating people and fooling them into, you want to be a good person? You better believe in this if you're a good person.
Yeah, but that's kind of the same thing. Someone with principles.
Yeah,
that is
I think
true. It's also why they essentially lose. Because one thing that never had was you can try and shame people into anything, but unless you're providing a positive vision that makes them happy, they will turn on you eventually. And I think, especially now, we've essentially got a couple of generations of people who will just get more and more miserable as they realize what's been taken from them. If it didn't collapse now, it would have been a few decades. I did expect it to take that long.
I think what happens is the left weaseled their ways into positions of power by pretending not to be left, and then they started just
going further.
Well, no, they got into positions of power and started hiring people into the systems that control the media, education, government, right? And they just started weeding out the people. I mean, that's what's happened in video games and
they instead of trying to
Hollywood.
Instead of trying to convert the majority, because I don't think they'll ever succeed in that, because most of their ideology is actually sadistic and poisonous, right? They try and convert the powerful minority and overtake, systems from the top down.
They have an in-group preference, so they despise anybody that disagrees with them, because I think they know their ideas can't hold up to scrutiny, and so they want to live in their little hug box. So they just hire other people like those.
And they use censorship. And look, that is all unprincipled behavior, so that is true, Madison. Nathan Cassidy 499 says, I prefer Jim Butcher's other series, Codex Alara. He wrote the series based off the prompts Lost Roman Legion and Pokemon. It's one of my favorites. It's actually a fun story behind that, actually. It's because I think he was in an argument where someone was trying to say writing is all about having a good idea. And if you have a good idea, you'll write a good story. And his response was, no. Writing is about execution. You can take bad ideas, and if you execute it right, you can make a great story. And then someone tried to test him on it. Okay, so he said, all right, give me the 2 worst ideas you have, and I'll write a story around it. Someone says the Roman Legion and Pokemon. And then he wrote Codex Alara on it, and it was really good. And so writing is about execution, not necessarily just good ideas. And I agree.
And honestly, just idea bashing like that is such a great way to come up with ideas.
Yep. All right. That's all the super chats catched up. This has been a wild stream. Disparate. Thanks so much for joining us, man. Your input has been brilliant.
No problem.
Not a problem.
Started with Doctor Who getting cancelled, ended with somebody not getting cancelled.
Well,
we came full circle.
Wild ride. Is there anything you want to shout out as we close off?
I'll also just real quick. I thought we just never mind.
It's What's the next thing? I've been reading the most racist article I've ever read about Captain America. A video was supposed to be out today. I couldn't get it out today because it was too racist. It was like, I was like, it just kept coming all the way down. And then I found out he's been writing this for years. He has a history of these articles.
Ryan's been writing articles?
No. Can you imagine if Ryan was writing for THR? It was like,
I love you digging up these wacky friggin' articles from the mainstream media and stuff. I don't know how you find them half the time, but they're amazing.
Oh, I just subscribe to all the people on Twitter and then they pop up on my feed. I'm like, well, this is wild.
See, that's too. I can't handle that. I can only absorb so much crazy, dude.
No, the more cringe it is, the more I revel in it. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's a friggin' superpower. I'm amazed by it. Awesome, dude. And Mike, what you got on, God?
I'm sure this is not the audience for it at all, but I just launched an NFT collection.
If you're into NFTs, Mike has.
Well, I just did. This isn't to make get rich or anything. I love NFTs because like you can create different layers of art and then have the computer just like mix them all together and create like thousands of different variations. So for me, that's a super fun process.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Trump, so I thought I'd do a Trump NFT collection. So I did this, and it's it's fun. They're super cheap because I'm not trying to like make a bunch of money off of it. It's just fun. If you want a profile picture of Trump in a particularly weird way, then yeah.
All right,
have
cool
fun
stuff, man. Alrighty, and me, everyone knows I'm up to stuff. Our videos on Shadiversity nights. I'm loving our live streams of Culture Crusade. It's been a great one, and so signing off, and we'll see everyone later. So thanks for joining us, and as always, stay on watch.